It's the time, so, you know, that's not my fault.
That's what I have to say.
I can only be so efficient.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular council meeting for August 16, 2017. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and council, I would just ask you to look at the formatting for this agenda. Carla switched it around a little bit. It's mostly familiar, but she sets stuff out as consent agenda or action items or discussion items or action items. And it just sort of sets out what's got to have votes and stuff taken versus what I just talked about.
Based on the discussions we had last meeting.
Right. It's an effort to kind of clear up, you know, what we've got to do anything on this item or not. And it's pretty well spelled out. Share your comments with her if you have any ideas. Always looking for ways to make it better. Anyway, I'll entertain a motion on the approval of tonight's agenda unless you have any changes.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the agenda. I'm in favor very much of anything that makes it smoother.
Find you down there.
Yeah. You can hear me though.
Yeah. I'm just trying to look you out there.
Oh, thank you. So,
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next item is approval of the minutes. We've got 3 sets of them here for council. One August 2nd, one July 19th, and one for June 21st. Any comments or corrections? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion on those.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I had some comments on our minutes of last meeting.
The ones for the 19th?
Yes. And do you want me to
For the
Move.
19th or for the second? The second is the one for the last one.
August, oh, yeah.
Yeah, the last ones we looked at are...
Yeah, the last one. I've been up to mischief, of course. So I move that we accept the minutes for discussion.
Okay.
Okay. On page 3 of August 2nd, it's come up several times that Mayor Hill had come to the planning and zoning meetings, and I couldn't remember that he'd been there more than 3 or 4 times, so I thought I'd call him and ask him. And he agreed that it was only 3 or 4 times, but that when he did, he was there to address the Planning and Zoning Commission, make his points. Some of it could have been training, some of it could have been council desires in the tasking, and then he would leave the commission at once so that he didn't hear anything. But just because it's been a point of him going, and I don't think it rises to the number of, you know, if we're counting times. So, however, he did have some comments regarding the quasi-judicial and legislative matters. And he agreed with your point of view, that in fact you probably do know the difference. So that was that comment. And then, let's see, there was one, just so no, we're not all throwing rocks. And I understand he brought it up that there could be some extra money available. So he's still looking out for the town to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, on that internet stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, you know, he holds no ill will.
Yeah.
A difference in style of management, and I understand that. Okay. On the minutes of planning and zoning, July 24.
We're not up to that yet.
Oh, that's already, that's way back in the,
That's
okay.
consent agenda.
Yes, that's in the agenda. Okay. Excuse me. I just tagged things.
I just have a quick comment. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know what all was passed out and discussed. I did read the minutes. My only comment on there was, my problem is when you're the deciding vote, and you've been to these meetings, and as you've said over and over and over again, you've trained them to see things the way that you see them, the way that you think they should be done. So my problem is, like on that one item that Counselor Simmons even questioned, should you be voting, and you voted anyway as a tying vote, that I think is where my problem lies. And I know Mr. Audio told us that the majority voting could have questioned that, but in the case of a tie, there is no majority voter. So, you know, when you break a tie on items that we all know you've been at the meetings and you've made comments about, and it's questioned by one of the counselors, I think that's where my issue with this is. Like I said, I didn't see the handouts that you
I've
gave.
got them here to give to you. I'll be doing that at Matters from there. The only thing I would say when I speak about training, it's not so much training them. I look for opportunities to get them training and help them see how to approach stuff, but I haven't been to any more meetings with them discussing like the subdivision ordinance that you guys have.
I know, but before that you had been, and when we discussed this the other day, or the last time you and I met, and you indicated that you have to be there so that you can train them.
Well, to see to it that they get trained and see that there are problems there. And it's like she said about Brad Hill, I've avoided the instances when they do quasi-judicial. It's there at the end of the agenda or something. I have no conflicts there with that. One of the complaints we've heard is, you know, the shakeup in staff and that. Well, that's how you learn about that stuff, kind of paying attention to it. The other thing is, and I'll hand that out to you shortly here, but it just goes with what that judge said over there. Some stuff's legislative, some's quasi-judicial. That's clearly legislative. And you're permitted to express opinions and stuff like that.
Mr. Audio, I do have a question. When you told us that the majority voting could ask that he not vote, how does that come across when he's the tiebreaker and there is no majority that can indicate he not vote?
Well, so let's take any issue of either an individual, let's say an individual raises a potential conflict, or another member of the body raises a potential conflict, then the issue can either be resolved by, if the person believes that they can't be fair, then they can step aside. And this is where the majority issue comes in, is that the body can then vote on it to determine whether or not that person needs to recuse themselves if they don't feel they do, if someone makes a motion for it. So
Okay.
that's when the vote would come, is if you believe that even with what the person said and what perhaps counsel has said, you still believe the conflict causes them to not be able to be impartial, then you would ask for a vote on excusing that member from hearing that issue.
And what happens if it's split and there is no majority?
Traditionally, when you can't find a majority, fails due to lack of a majority.
Well, and counsel, I think I get where you're going, is that he is the deciding vote. I'll take a look at that. I haven't run into that scenario before, where the deciding vote is the person who's already said, I don't have a conflict. I'll take a look at Robert's rules and see what it says. I don't know.
Okay, I would like clarification on that.
And I have a question along those lines. If there's a motion on the table, you usually are not allowed to enter another motion, and had I been able to make a motion, and I'm thinking there's a motion on the table, that was confusing to me.
No, and it is, and my recommendation would be to raise it prior to the hearing of the matter,
Right.
prior to a motion being made. So you would first make the motion to say, I believe this member of the body has a conflict in this, and I would like to see if they're willing to recuse themselves. So raise the matter before
Okay.
you're at the voting stage.
Because I've mulled the whole thing over, and I would like to clarify what Mayor Hill told me, that once he had addressed planning and zoning, he would leave at that point and not hear anything that they were doing.
Well, on the point of a mayor or councilor sitting in at P&Z, my recommendation would be definitely not for, and I think everybody agrees on that part, on quasi judicial. It does not create a conflict of interest if there is someone there expressing an opinion, let's say about the subdivision ordinance, because it's a legislative matter, everybody has their opinion, all of you have your opinions on it, and if they're expressed before the P&Z, that doesn't necessarily influence them, it's an opinion. So it is all dependent on the circumstances, the facts of the particular issue, and that person's personal involvement and whether or not it was inappropriate. So when you have, and you can all call me, ahead of time if you have that, if you think that's coming up, and ask me those questions ahead of time. We can talk it through, and you can certainly disagree with me, but I'll try to give you my legal views.
Well, and I appreciate, airing this here, because there's no rancor going on. It's a question of, what is the appearance of conflict of interest? And so we were cautioned to not even allow the appearance of conflict.
And I'll be happy to elaborate for you. Essentially, when you're doing these matters, it is a very subjective thing, and the courts treat it as a very subjective thing. It's kind of defined by what the person deciding it thinks of it. And even if you've got something that one of you thinks could be a conflict, someone else may disagree, and a court may disagree. But the way to solve it is, if you think it's important enough to raise it, we'll work through it, and then if you want to make a motion in the public hearing, you may.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We had a motion to approve these various sets of minutes. We got a second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next item is the consent agenda, which is the library board, their minutes, Parks and Rec, planning and zoning, and planning and zoning for July 24th.
Oh, okay. I would move that we accept the consent agenda with discussion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, on the very last page of the last document, 3D. Up in the upper right-hand corner are letters TAC. And this is dealing with let's see, expedited preliminary final hearing, and all in one hearing. And it said the expedited option will be decided during the TAC meeting. And I have an issue when we use letters where nowhere else does it describe what TAC means. I would suspect this has something to do with the administrative, but I don't know. So what does TAC mean?
Technical Advisory Committee.
Technical Advisory Committee. Well, if I can't intuit, the public can't either. So, thank you. That's the matter that I have there. Now, what's to prevent prejudice in that issue is, you know, we've had planning and zoning people who were prejudiced one way or the other toward or against development and made their thoughts known to the public, which is not their job. Their job is to advise and give them technical advice, but not to say, well, that's never going to happen here, or, you know, that kind of commentary. We've already had one accusation of a statement that may or may not have been made that would have appeared prejudicial. So how do we keep prejudice out of that? And that's all I have to say on the matter. Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, we've got a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Now, number 4, action item, staff reports.
Henry is sick.
Andrew's sick. She won't be here to give hers.
But don't we have it in the packet,
You do.
correct? And we really just accept them anyway, don't we?
Pretty much.
I
But
think
because the changes in council review, it's in the packet, that we inherited from the police department and from planning and zoning, and they've actually gotten up and talked about it. Councilor Hawley would like to hear from Andrea. It would be nice to have her here to present her report. So that's what we were trying to do with this. Sergeant was here to present the police report, Tommy's here to present the planning and zoning report, and we were hoping to have Andrea here, but she's sick.
And down in the discussion items, matters from mayor, we're going to talk about the possibility of other reports coming in.
possibilities of a bigger party.
Of other reports coming in from
Okay.
Parks and Rec and or Road Department. To see
Okay.
what your sense of the council is.
Well, I'm so sorry that I missed something, but I understand Andrea had designed a float for us, and it was quite beautiful. So,
Mayor, these actions, the action item can be taken separate and police report.
Right. So, absent any other discussion, I'll entertain a motion for action on the librarian's report.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the librarian's report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the librarian's report for the month of July 2017. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Next item is consideration and action on the police report. Sarge, come on up and tell us what's in it.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, public, so I think I was notified that I was going to be doing this not very long ago, so. It looks like we've got a report for both June and July. I think you've all been presented with copies of the reports. The numbers are pretty much identical. The month of June of 2017, the police department handled 849 dispatch activities. 272 of those were regional dispatched. 577 were self-initiated. Officers made 184 traffic stops, issued 172 citations. We took 40 offense reports, 8 crash reports, and made 14 arrests. The animal control had 35 dispatch activities, which 26 were from the regional dispatch, 9 self-initiated. It looks like they took in 35 animals, adopted and transferred 2 to other agencies, and had 9 reclaimed. Volunteers donated a total of 154.75 hours during the month of June. In the month of July, the police department handled 848 dispatched calls. 280 of those were dispatched from the regional dispatch. 568 were self-initiated. 184 traffic stops. 163 citations issued. 45 offense reports, 6 crash reports, and the number of arrests went up. There were 23 arrests. The Animal Control Division had 27 dispatch activities. 33 were from dispatch, 4 self-initiated. They took in 50 animals, adopted 36, transferred 2, and reclaimed 8. The month of July, volunteers donated 190.5 hours. Then general updates. We have our annual First Responders Day coming up at Richford on this Saturday, the 19th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We had a meeting with some of the people or agencies that are going to be attending. It looks like this is probably going to be one of the largest ones that we've had. Looks like we're going to pretty much fill up Richford's parking lot with all kinds of cool vehicles and fun stuff. There's going to be at least 1 helicopter, possibly 2 helicopters, Care Flight, and possibly Bernalillo County. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty fun day. I actually have some brochures.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, the movie night and the water day, I think it was just fabulous.
Yeah.
And I happened out in the park one day when a private party had arranged to have, you know, kids from their church and water events there too. So,
Somebody was out there a few nights ago with sprinklers going. I don't know if they were playing in them or, it didn't look like a soccer thing, but somebody was out there
yeah, I don't,
running around.
Good afternoon, Father, may I speak?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
That's actually one of the churches, they were having a back-to-school event.
Barbecue or something under the.
Correct.
Yeah,
And they were doing like a kickball-based
Yeah.
water slide.
yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yes.
well, you know, I think that's the one that I was speaking about, because it was Valley View had brought their kids over.
Yeah,
Yes, but then there was more recently where there were just sprinklers going
yeah.
down the center, and it was close to twilight. So I didn't see people there that night. But I think it's great that, you know, the public is saying, oh, please, can we
Play in the water.
play in the water?
I think we have one more movie night coming up. I believe it's 26th, I believe, is our last movie night of the summer.
One thing I noticed in here, Officer Harris, he's quite busy. I've heard about it.
A lot of it, Officer Harris is working a lot of our step overtime, and so that's where the majority of our citations are coming from, is our grant overtime.
Yeah.
So, but
I've
he
had
is
some people
he
question
is
me
busy.
about his vigorousness dispatching tickets.
Yeah,
I don't call him off the hunt or anything, but
I actually spoke with Kathy this afternoon. She showed me a letter from one of his not so admirers
yeah.
from out of state. So,
Well, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Anyway, if you got any questions for the sergeant, or I'll entertain a motion on the police report.
I move we approve the police report for June and July.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve acceptance of the police report for the month of June and July 2017. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Ms. Mortensen, where's she at? Discussion, consideration, action on planning and zoning department report.
Good evening. You have the reports in front of you that was in your packet. Slow month as far as development review goes, but not slow at any other area in our office. Busier than ever. We've been busy with the same things: subdivision ordinance, zoning ordinance, zoning designations for the infill annexation. Michelle's been busy giving citations and courtesy notices and just everything that comes in the door. Do you have any questions?
I have questions about the zoning designations for the infill annexation.
Yes.
Have all of those affected citizens been notified?
We are notifying them, yes, in quadrants. We did, at the last planning and zoning meeting, we did everything south of I-40, and we sent out a letter with what their zoning designation was going to be, and we sent out a blurb from the zoning ordinance explaining what that meant. And if they had any questions, to call me. I've had some people call. We had some people show up to the meeting. We really only had one that was upset because he possibly couldn't be on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the county any longer because of that, and because of the infill annexation, not because of the zoning designation, and one that that didn't agree with what I had come up with the designation, so we changed it. It wasn't a big deal, but other than that, everything's been fine.
So who approves those zoning designations? Are those approved at P&Z, and then council will confirm those?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they come up here for action, and then we have to also amend the zoning map with them, so. We kind of talked about that. It's like, want to do them all at once, or just kind of settle, well, it might be easier to just send them through quadrant at a time.
Because I also have spoken to some people who are upset that they weren't notified that they were annexed.
That wasn't,
I think I
yeah.
spoke to the same gentleman that you did.
Right, and that should have come from the Boundary Commission to notify them, not the town.
Yeah, but we are their town. You know, my thing to notify them is let them know. Like tonight, we're having a public hearing on two very important issues, and they may not even know they're part of the town. So that's my concern with holding off on notifying them, because we're making decisions that affect them now. And I think they should at least be notified. And then if you're going to work on the zoning designation, but I think we need to notify them that they've been annexed and that they have the right to vote, that they have the right to attend public hearings and meetings and all those things. So I would like to recommend that we go ahead and notify all those citizens, even if it's a letter saying, you know, we're going to work on your quadrant in March or February or whenever we're going to work on them, but let them know right now that, you know, you are part of the town. You can attend public hearings on items that are going to affect you.
So would you like me to stop with the zoning designation letters and just send out, you've been annexed, and then turn around and send out another letter saying?
No, I think what I would like to see happen is with the zoning designation, I would like you to send out letters notifying that they've been annexed. And then on there, whatever quadrant you're going to work on, whenever in those quadrants, notify, you know, we're going to change your zoning or work on your zoning designations on, you know, what, September, October, November. Because we definitely need to have all those people notified before voter registration time so that they know to register and vote.
Right, so what the letter says is you have been annexed into the town. This happened in April. We are now going to zone your property. Here's when the meeting is. So we are notifying them.
Right, but you haven't notified all of them. You know, you could notify them all and say the ones in this quadrant, that your zoning meeting will be held September, whatever the next one is, and then the next group in October, whenever, or whatever, however you've set up to do their zoning designations, the letters could all go out at one time with different dates on their letters as to when their zoning is going to be addressed.
And when we say we are zoning, it could be more appropriate to say the Santa Fe County zoning is being referenced here or changed to this zoning. Your former zoning of, either we're changing it or not, but will be reflected in our plan as. So just,
Tanya, what is your schedule right now? You've already done south of I-40. What's your future schedule look like?
I'll just come up and show you.
Okay.
Thank
So south of I-40 was done when?
It was heard at the last planning and zoning meeting,
Which was?
August 7th. This area right here is quadrant 2.
Okay.
We're about fourth way done with those. That'll be at the next planning and zoning meeting. This will be at the following, well, this may be a 2, because this is a lot to notify. These letters, I take my time, I go through, I reference their legal description, and then all of this will be the fourth or fifth. I think this one we're going to have to split, and this will be the 5th.
Okay. So can you prepare for us a map as to who's being notified when? And then, since you're doing all that work and you know when it's going to be, you could send out letters to everyone saying, you know, your zoning meeting is going to be held on this date. You know, the next ones, your planning and zoning meeting is to be held on that date. I mean, I just think that by not even letting them know, I mean, they should know they've read the papers, but they don't read the papers and they don't see the signs. And if they haven't been part of the town, they don't even know we have a website and, you know, things like that. So those are the issues I would like to see addressed.
So that'll
One
be-
mass mailing of our letters.
Okay, so that'll be like 3 letters will go out in each quadrant, because they'll have to be you've been annexed letter, your zoning letter, and then it'll be another letter to say when their town council meeting is.
Not
They could go in the same
necessarily.
envelope.
They could all, I mean, since you know when the dates are they're going to be held, all of those could be on the same letter.
I mean, I kind of know what you're saying, and that you have to put the zoning destination in each letter. So if it's helpful to you, I don't mind doing an annexation letter that says you've been annexed in. Your letters all have to be individualized with legal description.
Right.
I think that's what the time-consuming part is. Each letter has to be personalized to every single piece of property.
Exactly.
With every single legal description.
Yep.
So I get the time consumption at that time. So maybe we should do a generic letter that says you have been annexed into Edgewood.
And give them information, yeah, like
You will
when
be
the,
receiving your zoning annexation letter soon,
Mhm.
but at least that takes the time, effort off of planning and zoning, only because every one of your letters has to be personalized to that
Right.
piece of property. So maybe the answer is for us to do a general letter that says, this piece of property has been annexed into Edgewood. You will be receiving another letter soon from planning and zoning that talks about your zoning designation.
and I think it should have some information, like this is the mayor, these are the council people, you know, give our email addresses if they want to contact us. This is the town website, the town phone number, you know, all those kinds of things that they may not have even thought about.
I don't mind taking that away from planning
Okay.
and zoning so that she can keep her legal stuff separate.
Okay.
Because then the third letter is also going to have to be a separate letter because it's the council action. And that legal description will have to be personalized to every property as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So there will be 3 letters. There'll be 2 personalized letters, each of which has to have a legal description. And then there will be a general welcome letter.
Okay.
So we can take that on and take that away from planning and zoning.
oh, I
I say
appreciate,
we, and I'm including Rebecca in this, but
And can we get some kind of timeline on that?
Rebecca and I can probably get the letter out by next week.
I've got all the addresses.
Okay.
Oh, hundreds. Hundreds.
Yeah, but you put one letter.
1,200 parcels.
Yes, there'll be 1,200 letters.
Thank you, but I have one more question. You know, we hear about these letters, and then the public calls us and says, what about this letter? It says, we don't know what it said. So could we have samples of some of those letters that
Sure.
you're sending out so that we know how to respond
Absolutely.
and be able to respond in a positive?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion on the acceptance and approval of the Planning and Zoning Department report for the month of July 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the Planning and Zoning Department report for the month of July 2017.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve acceptance and approval of the Planning and Zoning Department report for the month of July 2017. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Next item is discussion items, public comments of general matters.
This is one of the items we moved up.
Right. So the first person up tonight is Charlene Roper. You listed on here to speak to the conditional use permit. That will come at we've got a hearing, yeah.
Yeah.
Same with Kylie McCall.
Yes.
Okay. Robin Pascal, power outage. Go up to the microphone, tell us your name and address.
My name is Robin Pascal, and I live at 58 Moriarty Road, and I was recently annexed and didn't know that. I wanted to address the issue of the power outage and the lack of information that came to those of us who didn't have any electricity, which I imagine includes just about everybody in this room.
All the way to Sandia Knolls.
Yes, there were I understand 6,300 people were without power. My concern was there was nobody that I could call and ask how long this was going to happen, or call and say, where are we in this? Okay. Everybody had the same issues, I'm sure, with no power, no TV, no radio, no internet, unless you had a smartphone, and everybody doesn't have a smartphone, and everybody's not on Twitter. Once upon a time, when I came from Houston, our hurricane preparedness was make sure you have a battery-operated radio, and there was a station that we could turn to get updates. Not everybody has a landline anymore, because landlines sometimes have their own power source, but cell phones, if your battery's dead and you don't have any power, then you can't charge your phone. So my recommendation is we need either a committee to set forth some sort of emergency preparedness, notices to people what to expect or what to have set aside, whether it's weather, whether it's power outage, whether it's fires, whatever. Some sort of information, whether it's a telephone message that's updated every 15 or 20 minutes or every hour. The utility company quit answering their phone. So we couldn't get any information. I called the police department, and all they could tell me was that the CNMEC said it would be 24 to 48 hours, and when I called, it was at the 26th hour. So there are concerns, and I know I'm not the only one, but also some of my friends who have animals and have a well, they couldn't pump water because they didn't have electricity. So I know some of this has to do with preparedness, and that if we have a generator, fine. Do we all need generators? I know that our power goes out lots, but it's usually a few minutes, 20 minutes, maybe a couple hours at the most. But this one just went on, and I don't know about me, but I kept waiting for the power to come back on. So that is my suggestion, that we need either a committee or we need some sort of way to let everybody know what's going on. And the only thing that really works is a battery-powered radio. Not everybody has a phone, not everybody has a cell phone or Twitter or internet or whatever.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I was curious about the length of time, and I heard there was a number of power poles that were taken out by a microburst.
Right.
and I didn't fully understand what a microburst was. They're very uncommon here.
Right.
So I went down Dinkle Road and I saw 3 40-foot power poles snapped over like toothpicks. And somebody had made a comment, well, why do they have to go to Arizona for power poles? I went down Venus Road, those are 70-foot power poles. I don't think they stockpile those just everywhere.
No, and
I think that was, it's pretty amazing because I understand they worked all night and they were still working late Sunday afternoon.
I don't fault the power company.
Yeah.
They did their job, except for the fact that they didn't let the rest of us know what was going on and how long we should expect to be out. Yes, Sherry?
Right, and their phone service center, you know, I called them too to kind of get an idea. That doesn't get updated. So
No.
I think your comments also need to be directed toward the power company, and I think that would be appropriate if our mayor sent something along that line that,
I did talk to him about need to do more.
Well,
Facebook thing.
not only power company, but anytime we've got an emergency, whether it's fire or weather or too much snow, there needs to be a central location where we can get information.
And one of the things that Councilor Ring always was proponent for was an emergency evacuation plan or something like
Yep.
that, because we have one way out, basically. And so, you know, maybe if we could look into maybe having a recording on the police line or the town line or something like that, that if you call, at least tells you the power's out, we have no ETA, the snow is 40 feet deep, Norton can't get out of his house, you know, or whatever. You know, just as a couple things that we could publish that these are, you know, the other thing that I know you can do is you can sign up for alerts.
Well, we get alerts on our phones in our television and radio, and some of us get alerts on our phones. But if you don't have any power, you don't have a radio or a TV, and if you don't have a cell phone, then you don't get alerts that way.
Right.
So,
But that would be one thing, because a lot of people do have phones. You could send out an alert when that happened, certain things like that. And then as we talked today, maybe just put out billboards on the road, you know, here and there, that the power's out or the snow is 40 feet deep or whatever, you know, to notify the community. We're looking at options.
yeah,
We are.
I'm just concerned about individuals who, especially are homebound, can't get out and don't have anybody to help with. I mean, if we had a medical emergency, somebody's medicine got bad in the refrigerator, there needs to be a central avenue or a central place to get the information, and that needs to be publicized to everybody in the area.
And neighborhood watches, I mean, you know, and that's part of it. If we have like neighborhood watches and neighborhood home association, you know, if we could even just disperse that information for them and let them be responsible, you know, they know their neighborhood, they know who's in there, who may be, you know, needing medical, I mean, some.
I don't know all my neighbors.
Well, some of them are more organized than others. So we're looking at options to address the lack of communication that occurred.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I know you need another history lesson, but my father was charged with watching out for the neighbors when he was a little boy. Every neighbor was at least half a mile away. Guess what he did? He went to the window to see if the chimney smoke was coming out. So, yeah, we do try to look out for our neighbors.
Again,
And I appreciate your coming.
some central
We are
information.
planning on meeting with the police chief, several of the staff, see if we can devise some other methods that in the future maybe we can have a way of disseminating information. It was an eye-opener for all of us. I mean, lucky it was in the middle of summer and nobody was freezing. to
That's
death.
right. But, well,
Just cooking.
Yeah.
you know, some suggestions on an alert, whether it's TV, radio, telephone, where you can get medical care, where the shelters are. If you don't have any refrigeration, where you can get ice, where you can. I didn't have any gas in my car, so it was kind of hard to charge my phone, and I couldn't get gas because they weren't pumping. So, like I said, we have to think about all of this.
Yep.
And we're so into social media, but not everybody. I'm not on Twitter. One of my neighbors said, oh, just look on Twitter. Well, I'm not on Twitter. And if you don't have a smartphone or your computer's not working, okay. Anyway, suggestions and comments.
Okay, may I jump in and ask a question?
What's your name, ma'am, and your address?
My name is Nancy Lee Adamson. I live at 5 Montgomery Lane in Edgewood. My concern is for the seniors of our areas who are we've had people who are diabetic. I have a neighbor who's an amputee. His wife cannot lift him. I'm also a volunteer with Stanley Volunteer Fire Department, and we have to be concerned about everybody in our community. Perhaps you need to consider instituting a CERT program, which is Central Brain.
One of them are out here. There is.
Certified emergency.
Relief tech.
Say it again. Thank you. And, you know, because your volunteer fire department and your volunteers with the fire department, their hands are tied because they're taking care of the immediacy of things like fires, injuries, medical emergencies, and some of our volunteer departments don't have enough volunteers. So if something of that nature could be established, that would help everybody. And what is our position on utilizing the ham operators we have a lot of ham operators in this area.
No idea. That's what we're going to look into. I've got a question for you. Do you go down here to the Senior Citizen Center?
No,
You don't?
I'm not a senior.
Some of us don't like to admit that we're seniors.
Mayor, my mother always said I was 3 years old. I'm almost 80 and I believed her.
I was just curious. That would be a good place to find out the names and stuff of people that could use help in an emergency. Whatever. Santa Fe County Company would list the seniors down there.
Well, the utility company, there's a form, in fact, I got one in the mail the other day, that you can fill out. And if there's an emergency, if the power goes out, if they need you, they will come to you first. So that's part of the utility company's responsibility, is to respond to people on life support or on oxygen that need
Right.
power all the
That's what we
time.
were talking about, making a list of people that need help. The other thing that come to mind was just how long do you let go before you institute it? 2 hours, 5 hours?
Well, I think in this particular instance, maybe depends on whether it's fire or a flood or snow, but power, maybe an hour to say we're working on it. We think within the next 3 hours we'll have power up. I'd have gone to the grocery store and got ice a whole lot sooner if I'd have known it was going to be as long as it was.
Good luck. It's
No,
sold
well,
out fast.
Smith's was, well, I called him Saturday afternoon. I said, do you still have ice? And he said, yes, and so I went and got some ice, but I'd have gotten it sooner. And yeah, it could have been, everybody could have had a run on ice. So, yeah, I mean, those are things that need to be addressed and answered. I was at the grocery store when the power went out, trying to check out. That was really a lot of fun.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
my daughters came to my aid, especially when I said, you got to get here before the meat thaws. And they each brought me 3 bags of ice, so I've got 6 bags.
Yeah, so
And one of them brought me a generator, too.
There you go.
I was just more concerned about the lack of information than anything else.
Yeah.
There is the radio station too, that may be,
That's what I was thinking of. She's talking about a battery or a battery-powered radio or something. Ordinarily, that's happened before, KOB handles all that for everybody, but they wouldn't have handled nothing in this. You need to tune it to that and get a hold of them down there to put out something. Yeah.
The one with
Art
Macintosh.
Swanson, yeah.
Well, I tuned into 88.7. They didn't have any information. I tried to call a couple of radio stations, and it was the weekend, so nobody was answering the
Yeah.
phone. So,
It
some
was
sort
a
of,
perfect storm. I mean, it caught everybody, Carla and I came by on Dingle Road when they were first assessing it. It was like, well, this is not a big deal. They ought to get this taken care of.
Sure.
We didn't realize over the hill, they knocked out nearly a mile of big poles on that big transmission line.
right.
18.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Yeah. Like I said, it was a lack of information more than anything else.
thank you for your comments. Macy, let's hold up on you till we get to ICIP. Delaney, same thing with you. Linda Burke.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Linda Burke from the Edgewood Chamber of Commerce. Regarding the power outage, we did our best to try and keep people informed, putting up posts on Facebook, which got a lot of response and following, over 4,000 people on most of those posts. We even reposted one of yours, Mayor, so people got your initial report. So it was a good report. I agree, there are things that could be done better. If each group, each community tries, or neighborhood tries to pull together, I think we'll get there. Run, Rally, and Rock, I had to be out of town, but by all accounts, it was great. It was a big success, and I was glad to see our expo was well attended as well. Couple things coming up that I'd love to have some council members at. We have a new business opening here in Edgewood. The urgent care at New Mexico Medical over there by Beehive will be opening on September the 1st. So we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting out there, and it's a great opportunity for not only council to come out, but the community to come out as well and applaud this business for expanding services out here that are much needed. Let's see.
I'll be there.
Tomorrow at our third Thursday lunch, we'll be discussing the expansion of jobs in healthcare in the East Mountains. We'll have Dr. Beverly and Dr. Curry. Dr. Curry's a dentist. Dr. Beverly is actually a PA with New Mexico Medical and their COO. So that's a good topic. We love to see new jobs coming to the community, especially professional and administrative level jobs. We have a bunch of events coming up. As was mentioned, the first responders event is this Saturday at Rich Ford. The rest of the month of August on Saturday nights, Church Street Market is running music. Chuck Wagon still goes on until the first weekend of September. And the Harvest and Fiber Festival will be at Wildlife West on September 2nd and 3rd. One other item, the Chamber would very much like to be actively involved with updating of ordinances, specifically the zoning ordinances that are being proposed. And we're having a little challenge trying to get information in advance. It's not that helpful for us if we come to P&Z meetings and really that's our first chance to look at a document because we haven't had time to evaluate it and provide any well-considered information back to the process. And really what we're looking at is any potential unintended consequences or things that could affect the business community in a negative way that could affect employment, their ability to run their business and so forth. So we have made that request and we've made it again this week that we'd like to receive information in advance.
I have a question. Don't we have like a 72-hour notification of what's going to be on the agenda?
We do, actually, and
Can
the
we-
agenda, I can send it to the chamber, I know.
Or even if it's just online, if it has all the documentation.
It is, it has been online it's been online for probably about the last 4 weeks, and it's on the front page of our website, and then it's on the planning and zoning page.
And does it have
there's a
the...
big notice that says, we're talking about the planning, we're talking about zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance.
And we have seen that, and we just like to know about, especially about meetings. There was a meeting that was held on a Saturday that we certainly didn't see any posting of it. The original P&Z meeting on that Monday night had been canceled for lack of quorum, so we assumed the week was then clear, and even though we were looking, did not see any notification of that Saturday meeting, and therefore was unable to get anybody to attend it, which was unfortunate because it would have been a nice one to be at with, what was the group that came out? I don't remember. Cog. Right, Mr. Cog was there, and it would have been a good opportunity to ask questions. So, you know, water under the bridge, but we do want to be play an active part in that. We have a strong investment in the community. Obviously, during the outage, our businesses were trying to be up and running and help with whatever way they could to get supplies and medicines and things to people who needed them. And we're very appreciative that the power company took the time to get power to the business district quickly. So that's all I have to add.
Any news on the hotel?
My last conversation with Scott was he was still this was 2 weeks ago, he was striving for Labor Day weekend. I don't believe that's going to happen. So, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's still targeting September.
Yeah, that's what I heard was after Labor Day.
And we will be doing a ribbon cutting and grand opening when he is ready for that.
I have one question. I know we used to get, you can sign up for alerts. If we're changing meetings, can you send out an alert to let everybody who signed up get that information?
I can.
Like tonight, you know that the meeting was a half hour early.
On our website?
No, there's a place to send alerts to people's phones. They can sign up for that and get that on their phone.
Okay.
But I have not, I haven't gotten anything, and probably because we're not sending the alerts. But anytime a meeting changes time or date, can we send something out?
Yeah, Counselor Abraham, if the resident or counselor, whoever chooses to sign up, if they sign up and we post something about that, they will receive it on that notice. For example, if you like planning and zoning page or whatever it may be, and you ask for notifications for anything on that, any notifications for planning and zoning will be sent out. It won't be specific to just a cell phone text. We can't do that, but if you register to look at the page, then yes.
It will send you an alert? Okay, because I get all the library ones, but that's all I get.
Understood, but we'll talk to Andrea to make sure we're doing it correctly.
Okay.
Any questions for me? All right, thank you. I hope to see all of you at the ribbon cutting on the 1st.
The only thing I would add to that is, as somebody who spent many a night in here alone on the back row, due diligence by the individual, making sure they're aware of what's going on in their community is the best effort. Get out and find out how the meetings, when they are, stuff like that. Educate yourself, get out and get yourself involved. Norton Henninger, road standards.
Is that on the,
No.
I don't see that on the agenda.
Councilors, I'm sorry. I looked at the minutes from, Norton Henninger, Road Supervisor, Town of Edgewood. I kind of perused the agenda for today, and I noticed the minutes from last meeting. And Councilor Abrams was talking about trails. So I printed out some road standards that I've become aware of. This is a town that I lived in California. It's an equestrian community. And
Sure.
I just wanted to bring attention to council in regards to, because I understand Councilor Abrams is concerned about getting more trails. Councilor Simmons, I believe you eyed that concern that you would like to have more trails within the town too. The problem is our standards now, the way they are, we have normally a 24-foot road and our easements are 50 feet total, which only gives us 12 and a half feet on each side of the road, if that's centered perfectly. Well, by the time you put a ditch in that, there's no room for a trail, because most of the times our ditches are so deep that your trail would be on a slope like this. This is a situation, it's going to cost quite a bit more money for us to do as far as our paving of roads, because you've got to put a curb, either concrete curb or an asphalt curb. And there's different standards on the last 2 pages. There's a roll curb that you can put in, or you can put a straight face curb in. But you have an equestrian trail to one side of the road. And then there's a buffer along the street, normally a 5 or 6 foot. So I just wanted to bring this to you so that it's something you can look at and maybe contemplate. We may want to change our road standards, our designs on them, to accommodate these trails, because I believe what we have now isn't going to work for a lot of trails unless you get a big easement like we got over on Horton Road.
It's a mishmash.
Yeah, and so I mean, a lot of these residential areas, if you're wanting to put a trail in there, I think this is something, this is a design concept that I think we're going to have to look at, where you make the water drain on the road. And then at your low points, you put in a catch basin or whatever, a drainage structure or something to accommodate getting the water out into the fields.
Is this for a paved road only?
Paved road. Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
bring us something maybe in the future on gravel roads like we mostly have?
With a gravel road, I don't know how you would, you've got to have some type of curb or something in it, something to contain the water. I mean, you could build it up, but at that point, that would be a real source of erosion and be hard to maintain. So I just wanted to bring this because I know at this time and in the future, we're looking at paving a lot more roads, or we have people that want a lot of their roads paved. And this is an option that I think we should look at, so.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I applaud the need for trails, but there are some trails that it's not going to be practical on, just as you pointed out. It was not envisioned that Edgewood would become what it has become. Everybody's living on somebody's failed farm or failed ranch, and we only needed farm-to-market roads.
Yep.
And they were all section line roads to boot. So some of those simply will be what they are. But as you see development, part of your open space will become trails. And I think that that's, people will not be able to traverse the valley necessarily on horseback, but that they will be confined to subdivision trails. So, but I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this forth. It's
Right.
it's just something for you to look at and maybe consider in the future for design purposes.
I haven't forgotten 2012-01.
I'm sorry, what's
I
that?
haven't forgotten 2012-01. Counselor Abrams.
Okay, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Stevens, he's here for the cup.
Yeah, he's here with us, so he'll probably speak then with
First time I ever had a second. Okay, matters from the mayor, staff reports. The question here is what I was alluding to. Do we want to have Parks and Rec and/or Norton come in and give in-person reports?
Is that going to create overtime?
Don't know, but at the point here, we've had the librarian's report, she wasn't here, police report, chief wasn't here, although Sarge gave it first, and then Tanya was here. Do we want the additional, try to have them come in and give an oral account, or is the report enough?
Mr. Mayor, I'm content with the report, but I think that it would be nice to see people intermittently, certainly.
Yeah, like quarterly or something.
That's kind of, Councilor Holly, you were wondering about the librarian.
Yeah, I think quarterly is a nice time frame.
Okay.
But I do appreciate having them show up in person to
Yeah.
answer questions.
And if we scheduled maybe a different department for each month or something like that, then we could not have everybody each time.
Good enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that one of their implied duties is cheerleading, and sometimes they have to cheerlead in front of us too.
So the next item is facilities update, and this is kind of a long way around to it, but,
I'm sorry, Mayor, I do have another question.
okay.
Do you want to leave the police and planning and zoning on the monthly report, or can we move them to quarterly as well?
I would be content with quarterly, they work long hours.
That's it.
Okay. So on the facilities update, there's not a whole lot new to report there. We did go down to the Moriarty High School grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony on their new technical education center. We've seen Mr. What's his name? Sullivan, yeah. Seen him there. And a couple of the board members, just haven't got any word back from State Board of Finance yet. But as you know, we've got permission to go ahead with the police department and then the municipal court over there. When they know something, they'll know something, is basically what he told us. So,
How soon will you be starting, and what will you be doing here at the police department in the meantime?
Mayor, council, so with the fire station and converting that to the police station, we're going to actually put in a much larger evidence room, firearms room, workout room. They're going to have their own training room. It's just going to be a much larger facility for them. They're going to several improvements. They're holding cell. They're going to have it where they can actually come in and see. You know, they can work on the report and still watch their prisoner if need be. It's going to be a much larger facility. Once we get final plans, I'll bring them to the council and let you see the final plans. We're still trying to wrap them up and get the final cost estimates. As soon as we get those, we'll issue the purchase order and they'll start the work.
Okay, I have a question. We didn't need to go out for RFP on that?
For this one, we're using a CES contract, and since we're members of CES, CES has already done the procurement ahead of time, and in doing it this way, it's a design build. So instead of doing the traditional way where you go out and you pay you do your RFP for your architect, and then they design it, and then you go out again for your contractor. It's all one-stop shop, and it actually should save us money over, the long run. We're doing this entire renovation for, I want to say, roughly $540,000 on the fire station, and I think if you recall, we spent 1.2, almost 1.3 on the current police station. So.
Will you be bringing forth some kind of contract or something for us to look at, to see where that money's being spent?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
if you do get a chance, counselors, go check this building out down there. It's pretty neat. They took an old cafeteria and turned it into a welding shop, wood shop, auto shop. Still got some classrooms, and they're even going to be offering CAD classes down there. They got a whole room full of computers to teach people how to do CAD drawings and stuff. And they just repurposed an old cafeteria. I was not familiar with it. I've gone before they come with that, but they redid it, and it's a pretty nice outfit.
How's your picture around?
Oh. The other item then is First Responders Day. Sarge has already talked about that. That's coming up on August 19th over Ridge Ford. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's free hot dogs, free pizza, music, fun, games, and there's quite a few agencies participating in it. Yeah, go check it out. The other thing I have here are some of the storm damage photos that were up on that Facebook site. That first one is out at Parker's Farm, their old adobe house out front, lifted the roof off and dropped the walls. That one there is the power lines on the poles that broke along Dinkel. And that was the picture there up at Bassett and East Venus where they were working to put that big main line up that caused all the trouble. It was quite a bit of a hit out there, and it just took them a while to get everything put back together. Next item. Councilor Abraham, this stuff is for you mainly. This is what we're going to be using now in these public hearing legislative procedures. That's what I'm going to be using as a script when I go into one of these. The one thing you'll notice here, it doesn't have like the conflict of interest ex parte. But one thing we'll talk with Mr. Audio, a member of the governing body could have an issue of their own pending application. So we do ask there for any confirmation by members of whether or not they have any pending application. This is the thing from the Journal, the editorial that spoke to the legislative versus quasi-judicial. I handed that out to you back in July at that meeting on Saturday.
I got this.
Right. Well, I got reading it again, and it's got quite a good description about the difference between legislative and quasi-judicial. And there is a divide there, and certainly on the legislative side, there's a way lesser standard for conflicts of interest and stuff. Because as you read through it there, people legislate, when we're in our legislative roles, you can advocate for stuff, speak out on stuff, yada, yada. The only thing that I could kind of see was if you had a pending application, it might be a problem. That's when I came up with this conflict of interest timeline on Brad Hill that Councilor Simmons was talking about. And that's just to reflect that issue that I thought he had back in 2014. It was documented. I did bring it in before the council that night, before the hearing began. I laid it out in front of you, and then you all voted to allow him to stay. This was...
Was this the one where the property actually ended up being in Ralph Hill?
No.
No?
That was... And then this one here is a set of meeting minutes from planning and zoning that Brad was at in April of 2016. He addressed the commission in public, stated he was not here to give the commission direction, but rather to initiate discussions in this open forum of a public meeting. He added he would like this to be a regular event in which they may exchange ideas and keep communication going. And they did discuss, at that time in 14, the pending subdivision changes. He was asked who would request the change, and he said that he was the one who requested the change because it should not take 6 months for a simple lot split to bounce around in the process. It's not fair to the applicant or to the commission, and he felt there was an issue needed to be remedied. That's pretty much my same thought on it there. Anyway, that's another example of his going there. Last two are here. This one is my first meeting that I chaired as mayor. See in there, I recused myself when a matter came up that I attended a P&Z meeting, spoke at it. The same thing. This was the second meeting of that. I also recused. So I have a pretty good idea when I've got a conflict, and I'm pretty good about policing myself. I'll say it again, I don't think I've had any conflict that would preclude me from not participating in these legislative matters or any of the quasi-judicial that I've heard. And if I thought I did, I would get up and get out. It's a matter of pride.
My main concern is there was actually a workshop where you were on tape, on audio, as saying you want the minor subdivision gone. And since that time, that has been all planning and zoning has been working on, basically is to get rid of the minor subdivision ordinance. And that's where my concern comes in is, you know, are you
That's what Brad said when he
training?
addressed them there. He wanted it changed.
Right. But he went to one meeting and
No,
you've been
he went to lots of them.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
think so.
my
He did.
concern is that then when this comes up and if there's a tie on the subdivision ordinance, you're going to be breaking the tie after you've instructed P&Z to get rid of it.
I didn't instruct anybody to get rid of it. They've done their own deliberations and reviewed it.
With your training.
No, my training.
But if you made the statement you wanted it gone,
Well,
that's,
Brad wanted it gone in 2014.
He wanted a better way to do it.
That's what I'm looking for.
Mhm. And you're just back to the old way.
Well, we can debate that when that comes along.
And we will.
That's all I have. Next item then is matters from the councilors. Councilor Hall.
Well, I did also attend the ribbon cutting at Moriarty High School yesterday, and as the mayor said, it's a state-of-the-art facility, and it's just wonderful that the students will be able to have that opportunity to get some training in the trades. Also, I want to give kudos to the staff for the great effort that you did on Run Rally Rock. I think we had a great turnout. Everybody had fun. DJ was great, entertainment was wonderful, and there were a lot of things for the kids to do, so kudos to staff.
Councilor Abraham.
My thing is the time art installations will be ending at the end of this month. I don't know if the public has been able to go out and see any of those art installations, what they think of them, what council feels about them. Are there any of them that we like? There are some opportunities to purchase some of them. One of them will be donated. One of them will be gone. But the thing is, are there any of them that council feels worthy of us trying to purchase and keep? So that would be something for us to look at. They will all be removed by the end of this month. But if we decide we wanted to negotiate with an artist to keep one or more of them, we could start that negotiation and they would not remove them.
Mayor, did the one at the park stay out finally?
It never worked. So that is the one that will be gone.
Okay.
The one at Wildlife West will be donated. The attempt is, I think, the plan is hopefully to have like a burning of the zozobra that's a howling coyote at some point. And then the other ones, at the library, animal shelter, and the one at the not the soccer field, the park, those are all pretty unique and very interesting to me. So it would be, if anybody's interested in starting that negotiation, we could talk to the artist and then decide what we want to do next month.
Well, talk to them and see what anyone want to do with it.
I know Barrel Hinge has sent me a starting negotiation of $1,500 per hinge.
Yeah.
My thought would be, he got paid $3,000 to do the project. Possibly if we offered him $3,000 for all three of them, maybe keep those. The sound one, that's pretty cool. Doesn't really sound the way I thought it would. And the one at the animal shelter is just really unique and beautiful. They have not.
With the mirrors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither one of those have Roger just realized today that we're coming to the end of this, and this is the last council meeting. So he tried to contact them today, but we haven't heard back what their price range might be.
Counselor Simmons.
Well, I don't often get sick, but I had a flu bug that knocked me out of a hayride. And I understand a hat. Is that true? Rumor got to me that there was a hat. So and it would have been my last hayride too. So I really felt bad about that. Other than that, I'm pleased with, the way that the soccer field has been utilized. I worry about the tennis field, or the tennis court. I don't know that it's getting the action that people have given up on it, is basically what I'm seeing. I think that when it comes to the skate park, that's a safety issue, and I think that's vital to take care of the skate park. But other than that, and the fact that that was a perfect storm, and that's the only kind we get, are the sudden surprises. It's been, what, 8 years since we had a 24-hour outage, or longer?
Probably when that one down on Martin Road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got two vulnerable lines out there.
It's like 5 years.
Maybe it was 5 years ago,
5 years ago.
but,
And that one was a lot longer.
well,
It was 4 days.
really?
Yeah.
It had the big double ones that broke over there.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, then there was another one that was in the wintertime, where it was 24 hours, and that was much longer
That
ago.
was longer ago.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm still living in Sandia Park.
Okay. Is Sandia Park on central New Mexico?
Where we were, it was.
Mhm. I thought that all of it was, but part of Gutierrez Canyon and Riders Road is
Yeah.
too.
Somewhere right in there, the two of them kind of meet.
Right. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Counselor Abrams.
Well, the Run, Rally, and Rock event was really well attended. I think this is the best one that I have seen for many, many, many years. Maybe the best attended one ever. It was really, really amazing to see that many people out.
really, really good event. Well done. Earlier this week, I attended the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition's chat. It was with the keynote speaker was Senator Tom Udall. But of real interest was, and I don't know if anyone here remembers General Victor or Gene Renard, who was the commander of North American Aerospace Defense, NORAD, and who served on several directors for U.S. Central Command. He also oversaw planning and execution of all combat and humanitarian assistance operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. His chat was absolutely wonderful. The man is brilliant. This discussion was about the world's and the state of New Mexico's strategic position. We have a huge investment in international trade, and I don't know if anyone here realizes the scope, but the scope for the state of New Mexico is both industrial and agricultural. Over 218,000 jobs in the state of New Mexico are dependent on trade. And it's not trade with other states, it's not trade within this country, it's trade with other countries all around the world. And so as we move forward with renegotiating NAFTA and a few other things, I will be watching very, very carefully what goes on. This could make a very difference for our economy in Edgewood. We are an agricultural community in many ways still. There are lots and lots of things that we could see the benefit from. So I was very happy to be part of this conversation and hear all of the speakers that were there. It was most of the day's event, so it was really good. Hearing people talk about emergency response and emergency responsiveness and information dissemination and all of that kind of thing. There really is no one silver bullet for getting all the information out. I think we've found that out the hard way, or maybe the easy way. No matter what you do, there is going to be someone who doesn't get the word. And unfortunately, I think there's a method I use quite often in developing project plans that works most of the time for most everyone. And that is hit what you can and get the exceptions later. In other words, do what you can right up front for as many people as you can possibly cover. And if there are exceptions, you can meet that need with some sort of an exception. Broadcast, well, we know when the power's out. TV and radio don't really work unless you've got batteries. Cell phones, not everybody's got one. And by the way, cell phones, even though the Federal Communications Commission and several of the federal laws regarding telecommunications require them to have diesel generators on the cell towers, most of the diesel generators will only last about 18 hours, and that's all they're required. So when you've got a 36-hour outage, you may not have cell phones. So, okay, so we've done no power, no cell phones. I don't know what else you do. Bat signal on the clouds? I mean, it's really tough. So, like I said before, I think what we ought to look at as far as a strategic warning for community members in the future is, yes, we can post it on our website if there's electricity. Yes, we can send it an alert via cell phones. Yes, we can post it with radio, and we should have some way to contact our local radio station. they will broadcast those things. Once again, it comes back down to individuals being prepared for the situation. Unfortunately, we live in a community that is on the end of the line, so to speak. We have been out in the country. We are building a town. But the infrastructure is still rural. And so individual preparedness and maybe something that we could do would be to make some suggestions. Have a list of things. You know, if the power goes out, I mean, I used to live on a well. When the power goes out, there was no water. So we used to keep 5-gallon jugs of water. I keep, you know, candles and lanterns and generator and all of that stuff, just as a matter of course in my home. And I think having a list of those kinds of things for people would be great. Now, of course, not everybody's going to benefit. Some of our community members are not exactly capable of perhaps supplying these things, and that's where I think we may need to get some sort of a contact list or some, you know, so that fire and rescue police can check on people when we have these kinds of situations. And I think that community can do that. And I'm going to stop talking.
Well, I just have to say, if you have a really good cell phone, I've heard about the outage in Louisiana, in a podunk town that doesn't have anything. But I got that chamber, I got Mayor Bassett's, and several other notifications that the power was out.
Yeah, I found out about the marbles of Facebook. It's there, but I'll openly apologize. I'm not very good at that thing, but I was told to get going on it. I hope it was a little bit of help.
It was helpful, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate some of Councilor Abrams' talk about agriculture. He was on my mind today, so I brought him a cooperative extension service pamphlet on growing grapes. I have a hillside next to his house. Tried to get him to grow grapes there.
Next item is matters from Clerk Treasurer, Mr. Torres.
Mayor, Council, just want to let you know, final budget, everything was submitted to DFA on time. They did accept it. They'll be reviewing it. Hopefully we'll get the approval in the next week or so. They have until September 1st to get us the approval. Let's see, the computers at the library are up and running. Andrea's a lot happier now. There's not as many problems. Now they're having the normal problems of the printer's not working. So, you know, a good problem to have, I guess. Just been working on trying to get the information for the ICIP. One thing that we'll be bringing forward in the ICIP, it's going to be put some figures are in there from our sewer design. And we're going to try and schedule that at the next meeting to actually have a full presentation for you as to what was designed, what were the criteria, and kind of the potential look for possible phasing on how to do it. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Next item are action items. First one up is a discussion, consideration, and action on the hiring of Mr. James Walker as the new police officer for the town of Edgewood. Sarge, you want to take this one? Mr. Walker's here. Come on up and introduce yourself and tell us a little something about yourself.
All right. Mr. Mayor, Council, I think you should have Mr. Walker's resume in your packet. So I'll turn it over to him and let him give you his spiel.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. My name is James Walker. I was born and raised in the East Mountains. I've lived here 24 years. I was homeschooled my whole life. Graduated. I have my associate's degree through the United States Air Force. Let's see, I joined the Air Force in 2011. I've served there almost 6 years now. 3 years as a geospatial intelligence analyst, and almost 3 years now as a security forces officer. My wife right here, Isabella Walker. We have our baby on the way. 3 weeks from now, our baby daughter will be born. You guys have any questions for me?
What brings you to Edgewood? The opportunity?
Yes, sir. First of all, the opportunity. Second of all, I love this town. Like I said, I grew up around these parts. I went to church here for about 8 years, and now we go to church in Albuquerque. But I love the town. I love the people, and yeah.
He's been serving as a security down there on Kirtland. He works some of the gates, and a lot of it's just going around, kind of doing police work, not unlike what he'd be doing here.
Are you actually a certified policeman?
No, ma'am, not certified through the state.
So we would be training you, is that?
He's going to have to...
Mayor, Council, he'll have to attend a certification by waiver, which will be, I believe, Sarge, a 2-week course
yes, sir.
in November
Okay,
Up at the academy.
at the Law Enforcement Academy in Santa Fe.
okay, because I didn't see where he was already a policeman unless he was with the Air Police.
Yes, ma'am, Counselor Simmons. I'm certified through the Air Force as.
As an Air Police?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was my question, and I'm delighted when the hometown kids come home.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live out here now?
Yes, ma'am. I live actually in between Moriarty and Klein's Corners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my dad built a house out there about 24 years ago, and my dad's actually retired Air Force and moved to Albuquerque and sold the little ranch to my wife and I.
Okay, well, there was an Air Force installation out there between Klein's Corners. Sonia Britton would know something about that because
She married one of them.
those guys. Yeah, Jerry. But, so how close to Klein's Corners?
I'm about, yes, ma'am, I'm on Martinez Road, so I'm about 5 miles east of
Oh,
Moriarty.
that's not so far.
Not so far, no, ma'am.
Right.
I'm about 15, 20 minutes from here.
That's easy.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
I live in the middle of town, 10 minutes away. No, 20 minutes away. But, no, it's, they slowed the traffic down. My 55-mile-an-hour road got cut in half. So, well, I think this is a lovely event. Thank you.
Bet. Council, I'll offer his name for consideration for hiring.
Is it,
So one question.
Go ahead,
Do
Counselor.
we hire him with the stipulation he did pass that certification or whatever, or do we hire him now? And just,
Well, he'd be
How does this work?
probationary anyway, but, yeah,
Well, that is, for a police officer, that is a condition of employment.
Yeah.
And I believe for certified waiver, he has up to 1 year to obtain that certification.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we accept your consideration of hiring for Mr. James Walker for the police department.
second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the hiring of James Walker as new police officer for the town of Edgewood. Let's do this one on a roll call vote, starting on that end. Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
Counselor Simmons?
Aye.
Counselor Abraham?
aye?
Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you, Council.
I have another question. Does the baby have a name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry?
Does the baby daughter have a name?
Yes, ma'am. Her name will be Amari Elise.
Oh, wow. Amari
Yes, ma'am.
Louise.
Elise.
Elise.
Yes, ma'am.
Amari Elise. Oh, that's lyrical.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you.
Next item on is discussion, consideration, and action on the appointment of Mr. Jeremiah Turner to the Lodgers Tax Board for the town of Edgewood. You've got a copy of his letter of interest. He will be the first person we've nominated to that. We are seeking other people for it, but at the time being, he's the only one that came forth with letter of interest. He does own Trails West Dairy Queen Travel Center, and him and his family have been basically based in tourism for years and years and years. And I think he would be an excellent lodger's tax commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the appointment of Jeremiah Turner to the Lodger Tax Board. Is he the first?
He's the first.
He's the first. Well, it's a good start.
How many people do you see being on that board?
It's 5, right?
Yes, and we reached out, this isn't one of those general publications advertisers. We reached out to people specific to serve on
Right.
the Lodger Tax Board.
Right.
And we've had some other interest, we're expecting a letter pretty soon from, I guess I can say that from Scott Hall.
Right.
And some other people.
There's a makeup to it. You have to have like hotelier, and people in tourism. And I think a couple of them can be just at large. One. Okay.
That's, Mayor, Council, it's from the hotel, from the lodging industry, and from the hospitality, so restaurants.
Right.
Food and beverage.
And when we talked to Mr. Hall, he already serves on the Lodger Tax Board, and he has some experience even on Lodger Tax Boards.
And he had indicated an interest in joining this one. Yeah.
So the qualifications, does that mean that they just need to own a business here in Albuquerque, not be a citizen?
Owner operate, so if it's a manager or something that it does not require residency.
It's not required to be resident.
Yeah, mainly to be connected to the businesses here.
Correct.
I'll make a second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the appointment of Jeremiah Turner to the Lodgers Tax Board of the town of Edgewood. Let's do this one in a roll call vote. We'll start on this end. Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
Counselor Simmons?
Aye.
Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
Thank you, Counsel. Next item up is a public meeting. This is the discussion, consideration, and action on the 2009-2023 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan for the town of Edgewood. Mr. Torres.
Mayor, Council, so far, this will be our third hearing on the ICIP this year. What you have is the list, and I've kind of been running total, or tally, so to speak, and we've added Mustang Road to it, as that was one of the requests. Pinto Road, we've added that here. Keep in mind, this is your decision, so if there's anything on here that you want on here or don't want on here, it is your decision as a governing body. We are required to give a top 5 ranking. I do have some recommendations for that. One of them and once again, it's your decision to, if you want to keep all those wastewater ones towards the top. The Edgewood 7 Trail, I would recommend pulling that one off. We currently have the TAP funding for the Trestle Bridge, and that's a 2-year program, so it's unlikely we're going to receive any additional TAP funding within the next couple of years until that project's done. And I would actually like to more focus on that project and get that project.
Council, that's down to number 47 on here.
I would recommend that we put the road maintenance water truck up in the top 5, and later when staff speaks, I'll let Norton kind of explain, his wonderful, or say not so wonderful problems with the water truck over the past 6 months. Once again, we do have, one more set of public input, so if there are any recommendations. I have also handed out Roger's new list, or updated list for this year. If there's anything you would like to add, if you'd like to add his entire list, change the ranking, that's your decision how you'd like to do that. He apologizes for not getting it, but he was out the previous 2 weeks, so that's why we took so long getting this in. That being said, I guess we'll turn it over to public comment.
Let's first kind of discuss it here with the council. So councilors, I think what we did last year was just go down over here in that right column if we wanted to renumber it and put stuff down. So as you sit here and look at it, just kind of contemplate that at the end we'll probably go and try to rank stuff over here and get at least the top 10 going.
Oh, and sorry, Mayor, Council, on the wastewater treatment facility, the only kind of solid number we have right now is the number from the PER. So that is the aerosol plant that was recommended from that PER. As soon as we get our updated recommendations from HDR, we'll present those to council, and if we want to amend the ICIP at that time, we can amend it and change a number if that needs to be, or pull it off, do whatever you guys would like. But we could amend it later on if need be.
And to Roger's list here, has he got them kind of ordered in the order he would prefer them on? Yeah, I mean, he's got them different stuff there, BLM, Town Commons, Section 32, but he, like that on Graduate Community Center, Skate Park, he's got that kind of in the order he prefer it.
He deferred the priority to council.
I have a question. The first item on here is the wastewater collection system. What is that different from the treatment facility?
So the collection system, and I'll go ahead and speak to it now. That's part of what we requested Smith Engineering do, is design our wastewater collection system throughout the town. And we have, based on where our plant was located, we've got a very specific area that we're allowed to do it, place it in. And it's kind of broken into several sections, I guess, or phases. And that 3.3 million would essentially cover this potential phase and this one, so this would kind of cover more commercial areas. And that's what I figured that would be a priority to get those ones in. The first phase, phase 1, is going to be Church Street and Cactus. And we have plans to move forward with that Church Street portion there, because we do have plans to hopefully pave that in the near future. So to get those lines, those lateral lines across before we go and pave it, to do all to pave it, and then turn around and tear up the road to put the sewer lines. And once again, as I said, we'll have a more in-depth conversation, and then hopefully at the next meeting with Smith Engineering to go over how they came up with this plan and what their criteria was.
Could you, like how you have on the wastewater collection, you have down here Church Street and Cactus Road, up on that top part, can you kind of specify the commercial corridors you're looking at?
So Church Street is mainly residential down there to get it in before they do any paving. Cactus Road would be along Main Street over to Dairy Queen and around this property immediately west here, and also stuff going down here along Cactus that is zoned as R2. So the idea is to try to reach into those areas that aren't served at the moment, to try to bring sewer to them to increase their likelihood for development.
Right, but the number one project is the commercial corridor on Route 66, correct?
That is part of it, yes.
Yes, that's part of that over there.
Okay. So when you do this wastewater collection on Church Street and Cactus Road, are you going to at that time require Citizens Connect?
The ordinance does state we have to require them to connect within 6 months.
My concern still is that is our lowest affordable housing. I think to ask them to connect first is going to be maybe a financial burden that some of them can't meet or may have difficulty meeting.
Mayor, Council, so with respect to that, I mean, the ordinance is what it is. When we put in the sewer line, they are required to. We are going to look into, before we actually do it, potential, I guess, ways to ease their burden, whether it be some sort of property tax increment that's spaced out over 20 years. If they had just put in a new septic tank, maybe we waive the fees, things of that nature. We're going to look into some way to kind of ease that burden. We understand that, it's kind of hard just to swallow that pill of, hey, there's now sewer in front of you, you've got to connect, and by the way, be a monthly, payer. We understand that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, so we will take that into consideration. The collection system, it's the service area, I don't think anyone here picked where they were going to place the sewer system, so this is the service area that we have to service. I understand that there is a lot of lower income in this area, but once again, that's not of our making. It's just kind of what we were dealt and how we have to move forward if we want to continue with the sewer system.
But if you do different collection lines as a priority, such as, you know, if you do the 66 and 344 quarter, would that?
Well, that's lumped in that number 1 ranking,
Mm-hmm.
which is 66 and the 344. Church Street, once again, it's just because we're going to be paving the road, and we really don't want to pave the road and then tear it up to put sewer lines through there.
So do we have the money to pave that road, Church Street?
That's our request for our MAP funding. We're currently in the design phase of it, and we'll put in a request for MAP funding for 2019 to hopefully pave it.
Should we move that up to coincide with the collection? I mean, if you're doing both of them, can we do them both at the same time?
One right after the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So put that maybe as number,
4.
okay, as number 4.
Right, Mayor, Council, before we start ranking though, could we
Yeah.
hear from public and
Sure
staff?
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of questions, though. It says Horton Road paving project. Where are we talking about?
That's,
Going south?
no, but that was, this is that leftover from the paving priority list.
Okay.
Horton's still on there. Basically, I think we called it from, well, up at the old Sylvester place up here, almost all the way out to Nugent, I
I don't
think.
know where the Sylvester place is.
Well, up here at I-40. That one there got put on there. And actually, we have heard something on that, a little slightly different. That remaining money we have from that, they want to only spend in between Dinkle and Venus.
Okay, can we do West Venus with it?
Don't know, they said just what you put on your election ballot, Dinkle to Venus. But anyway, this was on there from that paving priority, as was Square H and Venus Road East and Steeplechase. There's 4 of them, 9, 10, 11, and 12. They're the remaining outliers from the paving priority list.
Yeah, I think paving Horton Road West is going to be, you know, they were planning to go west when we voted to go
You're
east.
thinking of West Venus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that its priority would be greater than going more east, even though I realize there's a lot of people out there too.
Yeah.
I think we need to complete that circle around section 16.
Yeah, right. And that's going to be a little problematical because their legal came in and said, what you said in your election thing is just between there.
Okay.
Note to self in the future, spread it out a little bit, not be quite so specific. But anyways, that's those 4 right there, and yeah, you're right on that.
Can we spend that money on trails on that area, that Horton money?
I don't know, I mean, it's already got a trail out there. It's got the drainage stuff in there, they asked us on that.
And that's a paved trail too.
What
Walking
Councilor
path.
Abrams was talking about out there, now that might be
Parking.
something, yeah, that parking thing or something,
Parking.
but
Yeah, there's currently, well, almost every time I drive it, someone is parked at the corner of Venus and Horton across the trail.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes 2 or 3
On
cars
that east
there.
side.
On the east side. Every once in a while, there'll be somebody parked down by the bridge in the wood chips on the west side.
yeah.
So people are parking on the side of the road, getting out, walking their dogs, walking the trail back and forth. They'll walk the 1 mile up and a mile back. I see families out with pushing strollers and you know, somebody walking 4 or 5 dogs. you know, it's, it is a popular place to go and get some, you know, exercise. So, having a regular parking place where when the soil gets a little bit over moist and doesn't turn into a mud pit, that might not be a bad plan.
Let's see, there's an election coming up next March. Could we reappropriate?
Something to look into. See if the bond council would be amenable to something like that.
You might check on that,
Yeah.
because,
If the community is amenable to either closing the circle around 16 or finishing the section between Dinkle and Frontage Road. Right. In either direction, both need to be done eventually.
mhm. Well, with the school down there, I feel like Venus Road West is,
It does get a good bit of traffic.
yeah, I think that's, well, it does say east, and I'm saying west.
West, okay. So I'm change it to west.
Yes, thank you.
Are we ready for some public comment?
I think so.
Anybody want to come up and speak to the ICIP list of projects?
My name is Crystal Cook. I live on 7 Barzon Trail, and I was here last meeting to advocate for Mustang getting paved. And now I have a petition of 33 of people who live on Mustang who want to see it paved also.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Anybody else?
I had an email today from somebody advocating the Church Street paving project.
Hello.
Hello.
Where you were hiding.
Hi, I'm Monica Parker, and I live at 251 Church Road. I've lived there for over 40 years. And I'm here to ask for you to please consider the paving of Church Street from Quail Trail to Williams Ranch Road for this year's ICIP plan. And last year I brought my petitions in, and I think I had 300. And I think that everybody pretty much feels the same way that they did last year. And now that I'm hearing about the sewer, it looks like we're pretty high up on that list, which is really good to hear. So that's all I have to say. And Macy's got some things to say.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I know something about paving roads. My mother was on the Road Advisory Committee in Santa Fe County for 20 years, and persistence and perseverance pay off.
Hi, Macy Fitzsimmons from 153 Church Street, and I follow Mrs. Parker about the paving of Church Street, and we learned a lot this evening about the sewer line and that the paving project is on the top of the priority list, and that's what I was concerned with because I saw a lot of surveyors and underground utility markers out there, and I was just wondering what was going on. And I basically think you already answered most of my questions. What would be the time frame on something like Mr. Torres said on the sewer line going down and people hooking into the sewer line, and obviously then the road would be paved? Is there any kind of timeline on?
Funding permitting, we would hope to have the sewer line put in next year,
Right.
2018, and then the road paved shortly after.
Okay, and now that's going to be a requirement for the people, the residents along the Church Street to tie into the new sewer line?
Yes, sir. The current sewer ordinance requires connection within 6 months of availability.
Okay, all right. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the information.
Thank you, Macy. Anybody else like to get up and speak to ICIP? If not,
Mr. Mayor, I have another question on number 43. What are we planning at section 16?
It's more clear on Roger's list.
Oh.
I think he's wanting us additional fields.
It's down on there, or use Edgewood Elementary extra field. Somebody heard from that American Youth Soccer guy. They were talking about building another soccer field in front of the elementary school.
Heard anything?
I haven't either.
Well, they had a soccer field or a playing field out there, but
Right.
the Gophers have riddled it pretty bad.
Yeah. They were talking about moving east of that, and putting in still another field. He was all gung ho on that. Well, when I got in there back in April last year, and that, he trailed off, haven't heard from him. Norton, did you want to talk to your stuff on the list here? Yes, sir.
Yes, councilors, Mr. Mayor, the reason that I'm requesting a second water truck is for the past several years, we've used only reuse water to water, and we're having to pick it up at the lift station down here on Church. And when we're working out on, say, Nugent Road or Broken Arrow, we're lucky if we can get one load an hour down because of the travel time between those points. And so with a second truck, I can have one truck watering and rolling while another truck's down filling up, and we can just swap back and forth. I can get double the amount of water on these roads, and that's what these roads need. They need moisture in them to compact. And say that's why we end up with so much washboard in our roads, is because the lack of moisture around here. So that's why I asked Juan to move the water truck up on the top of the list. And our current water truck has been in the shop for over 3 months. We're waiting for a fuel pump. Well, we are waiting for Caterpillar equipment to get us a fuel pump. And
It's got a cat or a Cummins in it?
it's got a cat.
It's got a cat.
Got a Caterpillar engine in it. Unbeknownst to us, it was some kind of special fuel pump. And when we took it in, we were number 68 on the list to get a fuel pump.
So they're manufacturing them.
Yes, they don't have any on the shelf. And so we have been paying approximately $5,000 a month to rent a truck for the past 3 or 4 months, which would have been a nice down payment on a second truck, unfortunately. Yeah, yeah. So, and the thing is,
Wagner can't get them anything?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Wagner can't get them a fuel pump?
We had it sent into Kenworth. It's a Kenworth truck, and it was sent into Kenworth because we weren't sure exactly what the issues were with it. And when it got in there, they said it was the fuel pump. And I'm not the one that's managing the equipment, so I'm just, this is all secondhand. And what I heard, we were 68. About a month ago, I heard that we were down to number 62, I think. So,
You look into that.
yeah, I would certainly like to get a second truck. And the fact that here for the last year and a half or so, our roller broke down. We've been using the dump truck to roll. If I can have a second water truck, like I said, we can just keep rotating those trucks and roll with the trucks and haul twice the amount of water and keep our roads in better shape.
Then the 4,000-gallon one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have some questions about, let's see, what is an asphalt zipper?
That's a machine that was developed here in about the last 8 or 10 years, and it's an attachment that you can put on the front of a, they make them in different sizes. There's some that fit on backhoes, there's some that fit on bigger loaders. And what they're basically like is almost like a rototiller. They have a wheel that rotates.
Okay, so they tear up
and
the
they
asphalt.
And they tear the asphalt up, they mill it up. Okay. I mean, it would be something that would be nice in the future because of our paved roads. We could go in and mill a section out and
relay it?
relay it, use it as part of the base course, pack it, and then repave it. It eliminates the need to cut the asphalt out and haul it away. You're going to have to take some of it out, but at least when you mill it up, it gets reused again.
Counselor Simmons, if you've seen Smith's parking lot recently,
Yeah,
how they went around them edges, that's what a zipper did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just a little, instead of like a big machine that gets about 4 feet of the length, it only does a little piece.
They make all different sizes. Probably what went around Smith's, I didn't see it, but it's probably just a milling machine, and they cut it down probably 1.5 inches to do an overlay on it. This machine will go anywhere from 1 inch down to like 12 inches. And like you said, they have different sizes. There's some that'll fit in the bucket of a backhoe, and some that are 8-10 feet wide that fit on the bucket of a big loader. And I actually saw one on TV recently on the work that they're doing on Central for the art project, where they were using it to mill up parts of the road.
Well, there where Frost hits 344, we've got 2 pretty good
Yes,
potholes there.
and DOT was notified over a week ago.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I stopped and looked and
yeah,
saw, well, it's their side.
I called it in, so when I saw them a week ago, ma'am, so.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's see, there was another one. Okay. Utility truck.
Assuming the vacuum excavator's yours on well?
What that is, I don't know if you've seen the unit that EMW Gas has. It's on the back of one of their utility trucks. They make them for that size, or they have some on trailer. We rented one a couple years ago.
That goes through soils.
And what it is, it's a pressurized, it hauls water. It uses high-pressure water to dig the hole, and then there's about a 6-inch vacuum tube which sucks up the water and the mud and puts it into a tank. And what they're utilized for is potholing utilities, telephone lines, electric lines, gas lines, because anytime we go out to do improvements on any of our roads and we call locate, and if there's a line there, we have to physically dig it out to see how deep it is before we can take a piece of equipment across it. Well, sometimes our soil's easy to dig, other times it's not. And we've spent many a day with a digging bar and a post hole digger and shovels and picks. And if you go into and improve a mile of road, if you're getting ready to pave a road and you have to go out there and do it all by hand, it can take quite a while.
I've seen that piece of equipment.
Yeah. In fact, we did Range Road about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, when we went in there to make improvements, and we had rented a trailer, and it took me about 1 day to go through all of Range. Where had we have done that by hand, we probably would have been looking at possibly 4 to 5 days to dig up all the utilities there and locate them. So
I see on your wish list, you needed your own sheet.
it's extensive, I'm sure, ma'am.
Yeah, utility bed pickup, asphalt zipper, skip loader with attachments, angle broom and fork, vacuum excavator, yeah, I know what that is, oil distributor.
Okay, what the oil distributor is a tank, pressurized tank that you can use for putting down oil for patchwork, for asphalt, which we are going to be in need of unless we decide to sub out all of our asphalt work. And unfortunately, all these things are expensive, so I understand that I'm not going to get them all in one lump sum. I put these on the list years ago in hopes that as time went on that we might acquire a few of them.
Articulated 4 to 5 yard rubber tire loader. Now this isn't for loading rubber tires. It's a loader that
it's a loader has
with
rubber tires.
rubber
Yes,
tires.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'm going to presume that's like a backhoe or
it's a loader.
yeah.
And the skip loader I could do without the big articulated loader. I would at least like to have the skip loader, just because I have one piece of equipment that will load cinders and salt in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And if it breaks down in the middle of the night, your roads don't get cindered and salted.
Okay, so the
And
skip
so-
loader would be more important than the
Yes, ma'am.
articulated
Yes, ma'am.
loader.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yep.
do you think you could maybe rank these according to your time frame?
I can,
That would be
yes,
helpful.
yes, ma'am.
Um,
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
we know
things have
what's
kind of
going
changed over
forward.
the years because of some of the breakdowns that we've had and stuff, and some of the equipment we've acquired, so. But, yeah, I would be happy to arrange them in an order, priority order for you.
That would be helpful,
Mhm.
because they're kind of spread out through
Yeah,
here, and I thought.
yeah.
Well, they may still be spread out, but they may be higher priority.
And
then we may
like-
have something higher priority.
Yeah, like I said, the water truck moved to the top of the list because of the fact that we are using the reuse water, exclusively, unless something goes wrong with the pumps at the wastewater station. And so it's taken us a lot more time to get loads of water to the job site.
Okay.
Used to be we could put a meter on a hydrant fairly close to where we were working and pull water, and we could get a lot more loads on the road quicker, but when we're having to drive down here to get to the one on Church Street, it's taken us a lot of time.
Are none of the other ones working, or what?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do none of the other ones work?
We only have 2 hydrants on the reuse line. And the one at Church, or there's the one by Sonic.
Okay.
And the one at Sonic is extremely slow because of how far it is from the wastewater plant.
You don't have any gravity flow there.
The loss in pressure by the time it takes about twice as long to load up at Sonic as it does down here at the lift station, so. And the distance is about the same as far as, like, when you get to Dinkle, it's about the same distance to Sonic as it is to Church. And so if it loads twice as fast, that's where we go.
A vibratory steel wheel roller. What is that?
It's a compacting roller. It vibrates to compact the soil or asphalt, whatever you're using it on.
I heard a rumor that Santa Fe County might have some millings. I don't know that they're willing to share them.
That's why when they did 344 out here and the little part of Church that we did, I begged for a home for the millings in the back of my shop. So all of those were put there, and we've utilized, I'd say, a third to a half of them already, touching up roads and stuff. So, yeah, if Santa Fe County would be willing to, I would love to take them, but I kind of doubt.
You might look into it, because I got this through an email today.
Mhm.
There's another plan for those same millings, but
They'll probably put them on a road and probably shoot them with oil or something to act like a chip seal, probably is what'll happen.
well, that sounds like the plan, but who knows how much they've got.
Yeah, I can always ask. Doesn't hurt to ask.
The worst they can do is say no.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, counselors? No? Okay.
Thank you.
If there's no other ICIP, then,
I have one for King County Health Office. I don't know if you ever have this on there, but we're looking to do the electrical infrastructure at the soccer field park this year to make it more user-friendly. I don't know if you ever placed it on there, just thought I would tell you if that is on there, we're actually planning to do that this year.
And that is where?
electrify the
Soccer field park.
Oh,
soccer field.
to put electricity out there. I see that they removed the trash facility, and I really was kind of glad to see that, because people are beginning to drive over the infield grass we've struggled so to put there. And I don't know if it's went somewhere else, or there's plans to replace it, but I think the one at the town office is overused.
It's overflowing.
And I don't know that the one there at the soccer field was being used as much, except that people were driving up to it too.
There's also two at the library right now that were placed there by the schools under a grant.
Uh-huh.
So we try to redirect people to those.
They're recyclables, right?
They're recyclables.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm impressed with the people that do plan to recycle and do recycle. I donated a little myself. But
So then we want to choose the top 5?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, well,
We're in the middle of that one, probably ought to be still number 1. Wastewater treatment facility, bump it down.
I think bump it down until we have a valid plan of what we want to do.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, it's not gonna be more expensive than 10.5, and if for some reason there is funding, you know, we still would like to have it in a top 5.
And then the 2 collection systems. So you would remove Edgewood 7 Trail and move road maintenance water truck up there?
Yeah, my recommendation was road maintenance water truck at least be number 5.
No lower than 5.
No lower than 5.
I would like to see the Church Street paving park project be right up there, maybe at number 3 or 4 with the collection.
Up behind it?
Yeah, right behind the collection.
Okay. So it's 4 there.
And then the other thing I would really like to see bumped up is a Parks and Rec master plan. So we can start looking at some trails, and I mean, people are obviously using the trails we have. So to get a plan and either connect, I mean, to get that plan, I think is really important.
That's number 15.
Yeah.
well, that's not a terribly expensive item.
And it's something that then we could start, you know, he could start looking for grants and things like that. He's been pretty successful getting grants.
Now, with the trestle bridge, how much of that is grant money?
Almost all of it.
So there's no reason why it can't be in the top 10, right?
Well, we already have the money really.
They got the money for it.
Yeah,
So
so,
we don't want to request money for that one.
okay, so we can leave it where it is.
Yeah.
Because I heard moving it up to Edgewood Trail. But if it's,
Actually, Edgewood 7 Trail would fall down to somewhere, I don't know, in the 20s? Or in the 15s, maybe 14, 15, somewhere in there.
well, that almost needs to go with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Why isn't that combined?
Looks like the 9, 10, 11, and 12 paving projects probably ought to slip down a little bit. Utility truck maintenance, how high is that on the list?
It's the, and I personally would put the tractor with the Batwing mower above that for the maintenance department requests.
Oh, okay.
And then because I keep getting this request over and over and over, a recreation center with an indoor pool needs to be up there.
Is that on here?
50.
It's
Oh,
way down
51.
number 50 or,
51, 52.
yeah. Or maybe just the splash and play zone, but they want a pool, an indoor pool.
Well, I think in the meantime, the splash and play certainly does help. At least nobody's pulling somebody
Let's
by
try
the
the 5.
pigtails.
I've got 1 is still 1, 6 is 4, 7 is 5. What's 2, 3, and 4, or 2 and 3?
I'd like to keep the wastewater treatment facility and wastewater collection on Church Street up there. I think all of our wastewater issues have been kicked down the road and kicked down the road. I think if we can keep them up high as a priority, it just makes a lot of sense to me. You know, we're talking about wanting to encourage development in the community, and until we get a system that's functioning and has capacity to add more customers to it, I just think that has to stay at the top.
I agree with her.
Well, my concern with that is just about everybody that's coming in, First Choice, the school, all of those are doing their own package plants. So there again, you know, if everybody's going to come in and do their own plant, and it doesn't cost us anything, then
What might we be losing, you know, with enterprises that don't or can't do their own plant?
The other thing, if I may, Mr. Mayor, that we have considered, and this body has considered several times, is the fact that the product that is currently going into our system is very highly concentrated, and the unfortunate result is our need for number 2, so to speak. And with more residential effluent, some of the problems that we are currently seeing can be remedied in our current system. It's highly important that we begin to expand that system. And currently, the reason that these newcomers, these new businesses that are in the process of beginning their projects are planning on package plants is because our lines don't go in those particular directions. This is a start on getting those lines going those directions. And one of the things with building a sewer system or building a water system or building a road system that you have to consider is you start from a point and begin building out from there. We are doing that right now with both the collection system, the collection drain for Church Street, and the drain for Cactus Road. Both, or all 3 of those projects would both change the nature of the deposit being made into our sewer system and increase the range of that sewer system for customers coming into the community. Also, it gives us the opportunity to build off the end of Church Street down towards the bottom of 344 and Dinkle, which we're going to have to eventually anyway. However, we also have to keep in mind that going north, no matter which way we do it, is going to be very expensive because of the need for lift stations.
Or you put something just over that hill over for that draw area.
Yeah, or you build off the bottom of the other draw and take it gravity drain down, but that's another long haul. I mean, that's a really, really long haul up Dinkle. So, I mean, this is at least a start getting the core area of the center of our town on a wastewater system, which will help in many other ways too. I mean, it's a groundwater issue and a density issue. There's many other things to consider as well. Just getting the business community onto the sewer system is, yes, very important, and having that available for our businesses, yes, that's very important. But the mix of liquids that are needed to actually operate the system properly is what our challenge is, and what's costing the town a small fortune right now, and has been for a number of years.
that's why I say sell it.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, skip 7, And I've got 4 is Church Street paving, right behind wastewater collection on Church. 5 is road maintenance water truck. 6 is wastewater collection cactus. Want to round it out, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Parks and Rec master plan?
And when it comes to paving, I'd like to see West Venus Road.
Change east to west?
Mhm. You know, we're trying to encourage development of Section 16 too. So can we move that up to number 10?
So I've got Parks and Rec master plan at 7. What is 8 then is the Venus Road West.
Okay.
Then 9 is what? The Batman mower?
Or repair the skate park?
Well, the skate park's not terribly expensive. I figure with the different things in the skate park, there's about $8,000, which is not a huge repair. The tennis court, I'm not sure I put that in there. In the 8,000?
I think it's in here somewhere.
Well, I saw it in
Saw it
here.
in here.
Skate park surface repairs number 30.
Yeah.
Where's the tennis? Oh.
The tennis court's right.
23.
Oh, no, that's a
That's
backward.
23.
See, we have 41 and,
Number 23.
yeah, 40, 41, and 42 are all skate park.
Yeah.
And I figured that was about 8,000 right there.
You added those things onto it, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think the 1
There's
through
something
5
else.
that we've outlined sounds pretty good so far.
Yeah.
And Mayor, can I interrupt really quick? For ICIP purposes, only the top 5 matter, because that's all we're going to see. But we can always work on the ICIP for listing it for count,
Yeah.
for our purposes. So this doesn't have to end here tonight.
Right.
The top 5 has to end here tonight. But the list of everything else, if we're going to put everything in the list order, we can continue that at the next meeting. The ICIP is our document.
Right.
For the state's purpose, all they want is the top 5.
I think we got it.
Okay, well then, but I think it's a good idea to list this. I think everybody likes it. It puts it in a priority order.
Yeah.
But maybe we don't have to finish that tonight.
Gotcha. So that would take us then to the governing body top 5 project ranking. And what I'm seeing here is 1 is wastewater collection system, 2 and 3, they're all the same. Then we jump down to 4 is Church Street paving project behind wastewater collection, Church Street. And we've got 5 is road maintenance water truck. That's 5 of them.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we settle this ranking and
That's the next one, right? Then we do the action on resolution. Okay, so you're gonna have to come up with them 5 in a thing first and then attach to this? Yeah, the attached FY 2019-23 structure. Yeah, okay, I see how you got it there. And then that'll rescind or supersede the other one from last year. Okay, Counselor Simmons, if we want to move on to number D there, I will entertain that motion on, have you got that resolution to call out?
yes, Town of Edgewood Resolution Number 2017-18, adopting an infrastructure capital improvement plan, ICIP.
Got
You
a
want-
second?
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2017-18, adopting an infrastructure capital improvement plan, ICIP. We need to call them out. Yeah, the list, you got it? We're good. Okay. Probably ought to do this one on a roll call. Start on this end. Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Counselor Abraham. Counselor Simmons.
Aye.
Counselor Abrams.
Aye.
Thank you, counsel. Takes us to the next item.
The next item looks like it, my little blue tab looks like it says beef.
Mine looks like it says too.
Says what?
Beef. Beef, B-E-E-F.
Oh, E and F. That's me.
Okay.
Just adjusting, it's okay.
Oh, down on that. Okay, next item, public hearing subdivision ordinance. This is a legislative procedure. So this was tabled from the last meeting, but we've got Counselor Abraham back here, so I'm going to go through this little thing here. Public hearing legislative procedure. Request certification that public notice of this hearing of 2 consecutive regular meetings of the governing body has been posted as required. Tanya, it was, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is a legislative public hearing called for the purpose of adopting new subdivision ordinance 2017-02.
02, yes.
Yeah. And repealing subdivision ordinance number 2014-03 amended February 4, 2015. Requirements for legislative procedure differ from quasi-judicial procedures in several important respects. Members of the governing body may conduct their own research into the proposed ordinance, may consult with members of the public outside the meeting, and may advocate for personal opinions and/or those of constituents. And this is for you, Counselor Abraham. The rest of us have already checked in on the last meeting. Confirmation by members of the governing body they have no pending land use applications which might benefit from proposed changes to the ordinance.
No, I don't.
Okay. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance, and to that end, all public input and governing body deliberations will primarily consist of remarks about proposed changes. Furthermore, all discussions both for and against the proposal will be offered in a positive manner which is consistent with the governing body of the town of Edgewood's adopted resolution for conducting business. All persons wishing to give public input concerning the provisions of the ordinance offered for adoption on tonight's agenda are not required to be sworn in, since the adoption of an ordinance is a legislative matter and does not rise to the higher standards of quasi-judicial hearing. For those of you wishing to give input, your input will be limited to whatever minutes you decide if we need to, unless the governing body asks questions or otherwise extend your time by approval of the mayor or majority of the governing body. That one done. Okay. Ms. Mortensen, you're up there. Go ahead and give us an update on the staff report.
The last meeting, we went through the major changes that we made in the subdivision ordinance, and rather than go through all of it again, I just want to report that we've met with Randy Audio, and we've gone through everything. There's a couple of tiny typos that we still need to change, but we have that clause in there where we can change that when we need to. I believe that it is ready. If there's any other questions about it, questions or concerns for tonight?
Okay. So council, you've heard from Ms. Mortensen. You've got the latest, last version of it in front of you.
I have a question.
Yes.
On page 3, we're talking about a 3-mile zone where we would have official standing. How do we enforce what goes on in our 3-mile zone?
That's tough. Basically, that's based on the population. You can go larger if you got a bigger population. It's kind of the honor system right now. We had one brought in when I was still on the commission from Sandoval County, and their planning commission over there had asked for our approval on it, or at least that we look at it, render an opinion. That was the only one I'd seen that I could think of. And that came to us just because they basically wanted to do it. Santa Fe County, we haven't heard anything from them over the years. If it is something that falls within that's a problem, we do have extraterritorial jurisdiction. So you could put a stop to it or not approve it or something. And Randy, you could jump in if there's anything to add to that, but basically you have that 3 mile extraterritorial, and you would assert it essentially by asserting it that they brought you something in here, you could object to it.
But if they don't bring it in.
Right.
Yeah, Mayor, your description was correct, and Counselor, your concern is also appropriate, because if someone in the county, something comes to them that is within that area and someone doesn't catch or doesn't care that it lies in the extraterritorial area, it may go forward without any notice to the town. And so one thing we can do is develop that relationship with the planning and zoning departments of the surrounding counties, and establish those lines and keep in contact with them about it. I mean, that's about the best you can do.
Right, the other thing is just tell them, hey, we'd like to be notified of anything coming into that area. The biggest one, of course, would be Santa Fe County, but it would apply to those other counties as well.
Okay, because, in the 3 mile zone, someone could decide to put up a slaughterhouse.
Yep.
And there's state land out there that could be used. I don't know if that's in the 3 mile zone, but I think it's pretty close. I think there's one parcel on Frost Road. Is it Section 3, Section 2?
Don't know on that.
Well, that's just a thought, because, most people are going to want to do something reasonable in the way of dwellings.
And where we seen it, like with that Sandoval thing, was if it's in a situation like where they're uphill and it would drain or something could down into some of the town property, yeah, that's where you'd want to take an interest in it. Even like Torrance County, I guess we could serve with them over there, all the way back past hills and valleys and that,
Mm-hmm.
It just never has much been an issue over the years.
Well, no, it hasn't. It's not something that's been on anybody's radar screen, and sooner or later it will be.
When it's a bad thing.
When it's a bad thing. But, I see an awful lot of good things come before us that somebody declares as a bad thing. So, you never know. It's perspective.
Councilor Abraham, you gotta have something on your mind. So, Randy, then what is the process here? Basically, maybe a motion for it?
Well, we'd open it up for public hearing to see if anybody who wants to make public comment about it, and then go through that process, close the public hearing, and then
Gotcha.
And then move to any motions.
Anybody from the public wish to get up and speak to this? Lady? Nicole? Okay, seeing none, then I'll close the public portion of it. What would be the next thing then?
Discussion, or you can ask for motions and then discussion.
Okay, let's do it that way. I'll entertain a motion and we'll order a second.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2017-02, and adopt the subdivision ordinance for the town of Edgewood, also repealing ordinance number 2014-03 and its amendments.
You got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to commend the work that's been done on this. Many of the things that I found in several of the iterations of our subdivision ordinance, I believe, are fixed here. One of the most important being the flow of work through it. The read is much more easy than it has been in the past. One of the things that I find difficult about many ordinances is they do not read through very easily. You read through them and you find that there are odd restrictions in weird places that you did not consider because they don't follow as you're reading through. This, however, does.
That's one question I had, maybe Mr. Mortensen. The flow chart, is it going to be added in here?
Yes, we can add it in there. I didn't do it because of the numbering, that issues that goes on with Word.
Yeah. And the figure is put it up here at the front?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would like to comment on is that section 6, the definitions, there was some redundancy previously where multiple terms were used for similar or same. I see that that's all been edited out, and the definitions are much more robust, which is good.
Thank you.
So then take a vote on it, Counselor?
I will make a comment too. I understand that people have spent an awful lot of time on this, and my angst notwithstanding. And I appreciate the efforts. I may or may not completely agree with some of the spirit of what's in here, but it's as workable as anything that we've had. I grieve the loss of the minor subdivision. I hope that the accelerated options are taken seriously. I really do. I'm counting on it being the substitute, and the spirit of the minor subdivision has translated into that, into the substance of that. And okay, I'm done grousing.
So Randy, what do we need to take the call for the vote?
Yeah, close the floor. Be favor, but
Public part of that's closed, so that we've had a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote starting on this end. Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Counselor Abraham?
Nay.
Counselor Simmons?
I'm going to vote nay also.
Counselor Abrams? So we've got a tie vote, so Mayor votes in favor, I vote aye. That's adopted, and that took care of also the rescinding of the other one?
this was included, a repealer was included
Right.
so that we were clear on this is the ordinance now.
Gotcha. Next item.
Now we know where the beef is.
Next item is a public hearing. This one is quasi-judicial. It's an appeal of an approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission of a conditional use permit. The appellant is Joseph Campbell. Mr. Ms. Mortensen, I need certification that public notice of this hearing has been posted as required.
Yes, it has.
This case is being heard under provisions required by the New Mexico Court of Appeals intended to protect the rights of all parties to the proceedings. Requirements include the identification of all parties and their witnesses and the swearing in of all parties giving testimony. The affected parties will have the right to cross-examine persons giving testimony. Next item is confirmation of no conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts by the governing body. We'll start on that end. Councilor Abrams.
I've had no ex parte communication, and I have no conflicts of interest.
Councilor Simmons.
I've had no ex parte communication, and I have no conflict of interest.
Councilor Abraham.
I have no conflict of interest and have had no ex parte communication.
Councilor Holly.
I've had no ex parte communication, nor do I have any conflict of interest.
Mayor Bassett, I have no conflicts of interest with this matter, and I've had no ex parte contact. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Therefore, I'd like to ask if there's anyone present tonight who objects to the participation of any member of the governing body in these proceedings. Seeing none. Will all persons wishing to give testimony in this hearing please rise and be sworn in at this time? If you plan to discuss this issue here, go ahead and stand up and
Yes.
swear in.
All of you.
Please raise your right hand.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give tonight is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with the preliminary staff report. Ms. Mortensen, could you give us a brief overview of the subject of the public hearing?
Yes, the conditional use public hearing from Matthew Kiley McCall and Charlene Roper for a home-based boarding business for an elderly resident on Tract A-1-B-1 in Section 13, Township 10 North, Range 7 East, NMPM at 202A East Venus Road in the town of Edgewood, Santa Fe County, New Mexico, was heard and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 22, 2017. Mr. Joseph Campbell is appealing the approval based on the claim that the town did not comply with proper notice as required by the ordinance, which was the posting of signs.
Okay, and so looking at this, your cover sheet here, this was previously dealt with May 22nd at P&Z?
Yes.
Okay. And is it ready to go tonight?
Yes, it is.
We have everything we need? Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell, you go first.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, my name is Joseph Campbell, and I brought this appeal. The issue on the appeal is quite simply that the town did not perfect notice as required. When I was at the meeting on the 22nd, the town had indicated through the Planning and Zoning Board that notice had been provided and that all requirements had been met. However, when I went back and looked at the statute, at the ordinance, the requirements are that under C3, it states very specifically, by posting such notice in at least one prominent place on or about each parcel, which is the subject of the proposed action, in the event that more than one parcel is the subject of such hearing and such parcels comprise 200 or more feet of street frontage, at least one such notice shall be posted on or about the street line at intervals of not less than 200 feet, starting at either end of the subject properties where the property line intersects the street line. Problem is, and I've attached photographs to my appeal, that notice is in front of my house. It's in front of 200 East Venus Road. The property in question is 202 East Venus Road. I've also provided photographs of the property line in front of 202 East Venus Road, and there is no such posting. I will note that for this hearing, the posting for this notice was done at the corners of that property at 202. The issue then becomes whether or not notice is proper, and it's not. Notice needs to be proper so that all parties, and including the citizenry, can have due process and proper notice. As your counsel can tell you, if this goes up on appeal to district court on an issue of procedure and due process, the first thing the court's going to look at is to see whether or not the town has met its burden of posting. This is one of those things of due process that's necessary and required. The other issues that I have in regards to the application are different, but this is really the issue of posting. There is no posting. There is no evidence that I've been able to see. And I will tell you that up until last week, that sign was out front of my house. Where it's posted from at that point is approximately 100 feet from the property line on the east side between my property line and the property line of the applicant. So it's not even close. Because as you can see, that photograph puts it, as you can see that sign, that photograph puts it in the middle of the house. My house is in the middle of the property line between the east and west lines.
I don't see anything here that tells me which one is your house.
My house is the one that has the sign in front of it.
With the stop trailer next to it?
Yes, sir. The other sign, and I don't remember exactly which photographs I put in the appeal packet, but this is my house.
Here's what you put in.
Right. Okay, the third picture, may I, Mr. Mayor? The first photograph in the packet is a picture of the sign. And as you can see off to the right, past that, well, first off, on the sign, it clearly says location of request is 202A East Venus. The house that can be seen behind there, what you can see is a horse trailer and the front railing of my front door porch. I then took a photograph of it from a farther offset so that you could see where this was in relationship to my house. So the second photograph is the same photograph, or same picture. As you can see, there's the trailer, and there's the house behind it. This photograph is taken, and actually, if the one with the cactus is the third photograph, standing on my, not quite on the property line, but over by the sign, looking west down Venus Road on my property line. The fourth photograph is a picture of 202A, which is the applicant property. There is no, as you can see from this photograph, there is no notice posting on that property on either of those corners. I will tell you that the postings for tonight's hearing are on each side of that corner post, one facing north and one facing west. And then the last photograph is a picture from the corner post looking east down Venus Road along the front property line of 202. And again, there's no sign there. So the issue, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The issue then is really whether or not the posting has been there. The photographs that I included are an indication that they are not. They're clearly an indication that the posting is in front of my property. The ordinance is specific, and it says, notice of public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider an application for a conditional use permit shall be given as follows. Shall be. This is not may be, not close enough, shall be. And number 3 is by posting on or about the property. It's not posted on or about their property, it's posted on or about my property, and that's the wrong property. As such, notice isn't proper, and if notice isn't proper, then the recourse is simply this. Repost it, have a new hearing, have it done right, and then we can address all the issues at the hearing that we need to address there. So I mean, council can tell you that district court takes following of the ordinances and procedures for due process and is very serious. That's the first thing that they'll look at. So, I mean, if need be, I'll appeal it up there, but I don't think it should have to be appealed because it's pretty clear. And there's no other evidence. I mean, I don't know what zoning is going to say where they posted signs or didn't post signs, but that's hard evidence. So I don't believe that the burden was met. I don't believe that the property was posted properly. I don't believe notice was given properly because of that.
Stay up there. Stay up.
You get questions?
I'm sorry. I'll stand ready. I'll stand ready for questions.
Witness hasn't been dismissed yet.
I'll stand ready for questions. I apologize, Mr. Mayor.
So your only issue here tonight is the notification?
Yes, sir.
You don't have any problems with the outcome of the CUP hearing? I mean, the issues talked about there?
Well, it's my understanding, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, that this is not a de novo appeal. This is just simply on my issues of the appeal. So whether or not there's problems with the application, whether or not the hearing was conducted pursuant to the Opens Meetings Act, whether or not any of that happens is not an issue I have an appeal with. So that's why I'm saying it needs to be done again. If there are issues, those issues can be raised.
Your issue is strictly just the notification?
Pursuant to Section C, or C3.
Could you do us a big solid and go up to that board and kind of draw like an overhead of where stuff's at?
Sure.
That would have been a nice Google picture here to show us sort of relation where everything is at.
I apologize. I had to go get those photographs developed quickly, and I didn't. This is Venus Road.
Right, Venus, east to west.
And this would be south.
Right.
This would be north.
The top of the page is always north.
I understand, but it kind of puts us backwards from where it would be if you looked at my house.
Understood.
So I'll say that north is that.
Oh.
Here, and the reason I do that is so that if you know Venus, you'll see. This is Mosley.
Okay. Now put your east and west on there too, Taurus, since it's upside down to me.
Okay, this is south. This is east.
Okay.
And this is west. Okay? This is Mosley. There's it's actually not a road. It's my driveway, and it's a taxiway because this property is part of the airport.
So you're on the south side of Venus.
Yes, ma'am. And this is Cessna. And then my property runs, and then we have another, not roadway, but another taxiway. My property goes here, it's 2.75 acres. The property runs north for 2.25 acres. The property here is split, I think, evenly at 2.5 and 2.5. And then here is the runway.
So Mr. Campbell, could you show us, apparently you're 202A?
This is, no sir, I'm 200, this is 200 East Venus. This is 202, and I don't know whether it's A or B. This is actually, this is A. This is 202B, and this is actually 200 B, because we're actually 200A. And the posting, this is Venus. The posting of the notice was approximately here.
And it was for which one?
202A.
202A, okay.
The postings that are for this hearing tonight, there's a posting, because there's also this taxiway actually comes up like this, and goes over and joins. So this is taxiway. This is taxiway. It's not really a driveway as per the development. So, I mean, part of the issue is like, so we've got plenty of driveway, we have anything to park there. Well, it's not. It's a taxiway.
Okay.
And there are different issues and different requirements for that. But anyway, the postings today, for today's hearing, are posted right here and right here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm posted, I would say, the posting for the hearing on May 22nd was probably 40% of the way down my property. It wasn't quite half, but it was a good 75 to 100 feet from the corner. Because my property line is 200 feet, so it's a pretty long parcel. And that's the photographs that I showed. And actually, when that photograph was taken, and I think I've got one, I don't know if I have it with me. But when I took the photographs down my line, if you were looking on the computer, I didn't realize it didn't print. The sign is right on the edge of the picture, so I did that so you can see the rest of it there. And then when I took the photograph down this way, I was standing at the road over here, looking down the road, which is why you don't see the very beginning part, because I wanted to get far down the fence line. If I'm standing on the fence line, I'm not going to be able to see everything before the fence. So that's the layout of the overhead. Yes, ma'am.
What date did you take these photos?
That would have been taken the day after the hearing.
Come back up to the microphone so get it on there.
With all candor, I went out and that was taken the next day. Because I went home, I told
Day of the hearing, you said?
the day after the hearing,
Oh, so if the hearing was on, what we say, May 22nd?
May 22nd.
You think you went out May 23rd?
Yes, sir. Because what happened is I went and I talked to Randy after the hearing, after the meeting, and I said, well, I'll see if there's an issue for me to appeal. And if I will, I'll look at it. I went home, I pulled up the ordinance, and lo and behold, I realized that there wasn't proper notice. I went out and took those photographs. I knew that sign had been in front of my yard. I just never stopped to think.
And looking here at the testimony, did you bring this up during that hearing?
No, sir, we did not.
You didn't.
Because, again, I didn't realize that it hadn't been properly posted.
Okay. So if it's not a de novo hearing, we can only address stuff that was addressed at the hearing?
Your party, your planning and zoning rep said it was properly posted. So the issue of posting is addressed at the hearing. The issue of posting was addressed. I subsequently found out that she was incorrect.
But you didn't bring it up during that hearing?
I did not, because she indicated that posting was proper.
Okay.
And although it's a quasi judicial proceedings, the basis of the appeal is any issue that was involved. The issue that was involved was posting. So, because
Counsel, have any questions for Mr. Campbell?
I will let you know, Mr. Mayor, that at that hearing on the 22nd, and it's recorded, so we could go back and double check my recollection if I'm mistaken, but we did address, because I asked who all got notice. And they said they only had to send out letters to adjoining property owners within 300 feet. 500 feet, I apologize. So that would be, and the ordinance says 300 feet, but if they get 500 feet. But those issues were asked and addressed at that time, because I was the only person other than the applicants that showed up.
Council has no questions, and we'll move to staff. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do have one question.
Go ahead, Council.
When the sign arrives in your front fence, you didn't stop to read it?
I really didn't take a whole lot of notice of it. I did. I read it. I knew that it was for a zoning issue. I knew that it was what it was. And then we also got the letter, I don't know, if a week or so before the hearing, and I realized that that's what that was for. But at that time, I didn't go back and research the ordinance. I did not.
I would have thought this would have gotten your attention with a yellow sign on your fence, that you might have at least brought it to our attention as a good neighbor.
In all fairness, Counselor Simmons, I didn't stop and think that it was posted incorrectly, because I didn't know what the posting was. I had not looked at the ordinance. And truthfully, my schedule is busy that until it became an issue, I really didn't look at it. I mean, I'm in court, my average work week's probably 70 hours. So to have to take time to look at this, I didn't think about it. I understand. It's the joys of being a business owner. But so no, I did not. It did not raise a red flag until after the fact. And truthfully, if I hadn't have been looking at the ordinance to find out how to go through and appeal and everything else, I never would have known. Because that's when I saw the notice requirements and the postings, because I didn't know what it was prior to that.
And I guess my question is, in the overall scheme of things, obviously this is an oops, but can it be forgiven?
No.
Why?
Because the ordinance is very specific and says shall be. According to the law, it's a due process issue, and it has to be done that way. You can't go, well, we got close enough. It's not what it is. The town wants to go back and amend the ordinance to say it can be posted within 100 feet of the corner on anybody's property, then you can do that, but you have to meet the ordinance. The other issue, and the other reason I'll say it can't be forgiven, is this. The statement was made at the hearing on the 22nd by Planning and Zoning that they had had calls from other parties and people calling in to find out. And once they said, oh, okay, that was, no issues. Well, I've been living there for 10 years. Many of the people on that street know me. Many of the people on that street know who I am. Many of that people on that street know that I'm the only attorney in town. And if you see a posting in front of my house as opposed to somebody else's house, you may not have issue. And those people, if they didn't know what it was and who it was, might not have had proper notice either. So the notice is not just for me. The notice is for everybody. And that's why you can't do an oops and say, okay, because you don't know how it affected everybody else.
I'd like to hear from our attorney.
Hold on, just a second. So, is there anybody else that's been sworn in that would like to question Mr. Campbell?
I don't know if it's
If you do, go up there and give us your name and address.
My name is Charlene Roper, and I'm at 202A, the property in question. And the thing is that he took that picture the day after the meeting.
Do you have any questions for his testimony?
Did you not see the sign that was posted in front of our house as well that got blown away?
No, and there was no sign that I ever saw in front of your house.
But okay, so you didn't notice the sign in front of your house or my house for the first little while? Because you said that you didn't really pay attention to it?
No, the sign in front of my house I saw, because that was there.
And the one in front of mine was as well?
I never saw a sign in front of your house.
That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question for the applicant? Okay, Mr. Applicant, you can sit down. You get to play judge. Are there any proponents of the matter that wish to speak? In other words, anybody in favor of Mr. Campbell's appeal that would wish to speak? Give testimony? Okay. Are there any opponents of Mr. Campbell's effort that would like to speak? Sir, would you give us your name and address?
Yes. I'm David Stevens. I live at 3 Taxiway Beaver. I'm the neighbor on the immediate east side of the McCall's home. And
Would you be completely off the picture there?
I would be off the board on this, but I'm their immediate next door neighbor on the east side. I didn't come prepared to address the specific singular issue of the appeal, but I came to speak in favor of the McCalls and their proposed use of the property. And as their immediate next-door neighbor, I heartily approve of their effort to provide care to elderly individuals in their home. And I would strongly endorse the McCalls in their petition.
Okay, do you have anything specific to the issue of the noticing?
I do not.
Okay, I've got a question here.
Yes,
I have a question. So you drive past both of these properties on the way to your house?
I do.
Did you notice two signs?
You know, I didn't notice, I didn't pay any attention. I did receive the letter, the registered letter in the mail from the city that there would be hearings, but...
You did receive that, or you didn't?
I did receive, yes. I believe I received, at this point, I have received 2 letters from the city regarding a hearing. But I honestly didn't pay any attention to postings, whether I wasn't concerned about it.
Council have any questions? Stay up there. Staff, do you have any questions for this person?
I do not.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Are there anybody else, any other opponents that would wish to speak? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead and sit down. Give us your name and address.
Thank you. Ken McCall, 202 East Venus Road. I just want to say that, you know, we walk the dogs regularly, and there were 2 signs posted, one in front of our property and one in front of his, and they were there. I mean, we walk the dogs every day, and we pointed them out, we read them, they were there, we know they were there, and then the one on our, one of the signs disappeared, you know, just disappeared, so, I mean, but they were both there. We know they were there.
Could you step up there and sort of show us where
Yes.
you believe the signs were?
Yes,
when
there
you
was
saw
one
them both
sign
up
that
there?
was right, there was one sign that was right here, and there was another sign like right here. And they were both there, we walked the dogs this way and that way. We noticed both signs, and they were there. Positively,
Do
yes.
you have any idea how long they were there?
Since they posted them, I mean, until, you know, I mean, I can't say for sure
Like a
how
week,
long.
2
Yeah,
weeks?
about 2 weeks, I don't know exactly. But I mean, we saw them day after day after day, walking the dogs, and so. We know they were there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do you have anything else to add?
That's it.
Anybody have any questions for him?
I do.
Okay.
Can I stay from here, or do you need?
Go up there so we can catch you on the mic.
Do you have any idea when the sign in front of your house was blown away?
Well, usually when stuff blows away, it's down the road. It doesn't just disappear. You know, we walked the dogs all the way down to the end of the street, and there was no sign there. It just disappeared one night, you know, all of a sudden.
Did you ever call and notify the Planning and Zoning Board that the notice provided in front of your house for the hearing on May 22nd was gone?
No, we didn't.
That's all I have.
Okay. So with that done, staff come back up. Let's go over the staff report a little more in depth.
I just want to say, the reasoning behind where we posted the signs, and Michelle and I went out together to do it. And we did post here and here. And when I think of a public notice, I want to put it where everyone can see it. So 2 places, Venus Road is the one most traveled, 2 different places, spaced out. And from now on, I mean, moving forward, we're definitely going to be taking timestamp pictures of when we post. I guess maybe I misinterpreted the zoning ordinance wrong, because it was by posting such notice in at least one prominent place on or about each parcel. So it was on and about was my thinking. 2 signs were posted, one on well, we already went over that. These signs are light in weight and can easily be blown away by the wind or moved by individuals. I believe that's why we have 3 different ways to notify people. Twice in the newspaper, and notifying the abutters, and I do 500 feet. Mr. Campbell's concern was not brought up in the planning and zoning meeting on May 22nd, so this is new evidence. And you can refer to the meeting minutes for that. Proper notices were sent out, and at least one sign was intact before May 22nd. I mean, they both were there. We posted both of them. Public hearing in the general area of the property that is in discussion. Town council should uphold the approval that the Planning and Zoning Commission passed on May 22nd for the conditional use permit for Matthew Kiley McCall and Charlene Roper.
You post, what, 2 weeks before?
For the signs?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it would have been like 15 days prior to the 22nd,
Yes.
at least minimum.
Right.
It was held on the 22nd, and basically it was gone the day of the hearing? You don't know when it was?
I have never seen a sign out in front of the other house. The sign that was posted in front of my house was there up until last week.
Okay.
So it's kind of didn't go out from my house.
And you took the pictures, you said, the day after
Yes,
the
sir.
hearing? Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask staff a question? The property requesting the zoning is to the east of Mr. Campbell, is that correct?
Yes.
And the prevailing winds in this area, are you familiar with them?
I just know it blows a lot here, especially in May.
That's true. They're predominantly west to east, so, you know, it's plausible that the sign could have blown away. The fact that there was still one in the vicinity, even though it's not in front of the applicant, I'm wondering, since most people are on their way to work, and in this case, both parties would normally travel westerly on their way to work and come only as far as their home, then it's entirely possible that Mr. Campbell never saw a sign next door.
True.
Even though he saw one where in front of his property, he didn't read it. So it didn't concern him a lot.
Right.
So I think it's a very good idea to take pictures of signs when you place them. So it was you that placed the sign?
And Michelle.
Okay. Okay, so Michelle could testify to that too.
Yes.
And what day?
You need to swear in.
I did.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
What day did you post it then?
It was 15 days prior to the hearing. We went out, we did post that afternoon, we did post the 2 signs. And like she said, in the ordinance that we read, it says at least 1 sign on or about within 200 feet of that parcel. We did exactly that. Even the 1 sign in front of Mr. Campbell's would still be considered at least 1 sign on or about that parcel. But we did post both signs.
You did?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Sometimes we post more.
I was going to say, depending on the size of the property, there's been times that we have posted 3 and 4 signs. Due to the fact that this was 1 house, 1 parcel, we posted the 2 signs on the main part of the street, but both signs were there and both signs were present.
Okay, are there a lot of houses further east of this location? 1 or 2 or maybe a dozen?
I don't know how many houses are out there, honestly.
Okay. No, I'm thinking east because of the prevailing winds.
And I mean, it could have blown away. They're a very light plastic material. We should have brought one in to show. Even the wire that holds up, I'm surprised one is still sitting in front of your property, honestly, because they are. I mean, we've even had them blow over right as we're posting them. So we try to put them within the fence line. We try to make sure that they are secure. If they last through the winds, good.
I have a question for staff. So that taxiway that's between Mr. Campbell's lot 200A and these other people on 202A, is that like a well-traveled road or driveway or something?
This one
The one
right
in the
here.
middle?
This is where they go up and they can get into their house here.
Yeah, it's a driveway.
It's more or less like a driveway, is what, I mean, it doesn't look like a roadway at all. I didn't,
Both of those lots?
as,
A and B on two.
as far as I knew, it was a driveway. I did not realize it was a taxiway.
We didn't post here because we thought more people would see it if it was in two different locations.
Where they had to turn there. If you put them all on 202A, people turning there wouldn't see it.
Exactly.
Okay. So you reason put one back a little bit on Mr. Campbell's side of the line, so people going by would have to,
They're
they
like,
could at least
"Oh."
see it.
And then they could, if they read it, then they could go a little further, like, oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
And every property that we do this on, I mean, we've done it where it's going down one of the main roads and then up on 344, and it may be in front of other people's property.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's within so many feet of the business or the subdivision or whatever is going on that we are posting for. It's not an exact science. We don't go out with an exact measuring tape and stuff like that, and maybe that's what we need to do. But at that point in time, we didn't see a need for it. We put up the two signs, one in front of their location of where the business is going, and one a little bit further down as the ordinance read.
Okay, does council have any more questions for staff? Does the applicant have any questions for staff? Go up there and ask them.
Okay, pursuant to the ordinance, well, let me ask this, the applicant is, how many parcels?
Well,
There's one parcel,
okay.
right? Yes?
I don't know what a measurement of a parcel is. I do code
One piece of
enforcement,
property
so-
subject to their.
The property,
Or to the,
yes.
to the conditional use. So under the ordinance, in the event more than one parcel is subject, then you can post 200 feet down the line, but if there's only one, it has to be posted on or about the property, correct?
On or about the property.
And we did that.
When did the sign blow away?
We don't put a camera up and watch the
I only
signs.
noticed it gone 2 or 3.
Hold on, madam.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So the purpose of the sign being there is to provide notice throughout the 15-day period, correct?
Until you brought to our attention that it was only one sign out there and there was a sign in front of your property. As far as we knew, both signs were there.
Did you ever go and check to see if the signs were
I
still on
have
the
drove
property?
that road, and both signs were there for quite a while. But
Can you say-
had also stated that you did not see your own sign for a while, so.
Can you testify in front of the town council that the sign in front of 202A was there for the whole 15 days required for the
No,
notice?
not for the whole 15 days, I cannot. Can you? You said until the day after the hearing.
I never
you
saw
went
the
out
sign
and took
there.
the sign. You went and took the picture.
I never saw a sign
You also
there.
stated that you did not read your own sign for a while, that it didn't bother you being there. So, kind of goes both ways.
No, it doesn't go both ways because I don't have the duty to post. The town has the duty to post, and
we
you
did
can't tell whether or not the post was there for 15 days as required, can you?
You don't have proof that it wasn't.
We posted the property like we
You took the pictures on the 16th day, sir.
I think we need to call and stop this.
The, did you ever receive notice from anybody that the sign in front of 202A was missing?
No, I did not.
Did you ever make efforts to replace the sign in front of
I
202A?
did know it was missing, sir.
Okay, so that would be a no.
Would be enough.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council.
Staff have anything else?
I do not.
Does anybody else wish to cross-examine Ms. Mortensen? Okay, you go ahead and sit down. Applicant, you go last. You got a closing summary.
Mr. Mayor, council, the issue is really the provisions of the ordinance and the reason that the ordinance is there. Posting in front of my house under the conditions of the ordinance, C, is not proper at all. So it can't be construed as a proper posting because it's one parcel, and therefore it cannot be posted in front of the residents of, it has to be posted on or about that property. My house, 75 to 100 feet away from that property, is not posting on that property. It's not posted, no, it's not proper. a sign was posted in front of 202. It was not there for the entire 2-week, or the entire 15-day notice period for which it has to be there as required and needed by the statute. Sorry, I can't remember the gentleman's name that owns the property east of 202A, indicated that he can't recall the signs being there at all. He never recalls seeing them. That's not saying they're not there, but if he doesn't recall seeing them, I don't recall seeing them. And I have photographic evidence that at least the day after there's postings that are still there, then there's got to be an issue. And the issue is the proper posting of 15 days in front of the property in question. That's what the ordinance requires, and the evidence in front of the council is that it wasn't there for the full 15 days. Whether or not it was ever there, I don't know, because I never saw any postings in front of 202. I drive that road regularly, not just to my house, because you can go down 202 and go to Bassett and go down the back way and go to Walmart. And in the morning, when traffic is at the corner for School of Venus and 344, you can wait 15, 20 minutes getting through there. So I go through the back ways from time to time. I never recall seeing a sign there.
That does raise a question. Traditionally, do you turn in on Cessna?
That's my driveway.
You turn in and out of there?
Yes, sir.
90% of the time, you don't go further east.
Most days when I drive in and out of my property, I go west on Venus.
Okay.
Like I said, depending on what friend I'm taking my daughter to, what the traffic is like, whether or not Mr. Henninger is out blading the road, then there are times that you go down Bassett and go down.
Gotcha.
And Norton's out there blading the road a lot, because that road gets washboard to no end. So it's not an everyday occurrence, but yes, I have gone through that way. I never recall seeing a sign in front of 202A.
You go through that way during that 2-week period?
I go through, can I tell you specifically that I did, Mr. Mayor? I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you and tell you that I can recall going through there between the dates of March 7th and March 22nd. I'm not going to insult your intelligence that way. I can tell you that I go down that way on a fairly regular basis, probably 3 or 4 times a month. Again, just depending on the circumstances. So
You could have been up and your normal route of travel wouldn't have took you by it.
although from my windows, you can see all the way down, because the utility poles that were down when the power outage was out was mine, and you can see down Venus from my front yard and from my front porch, and through my living room windows, we could see the poles down. So
if they posted it, say, 2 weeks prior, when did you think you first noticed the sign in front of your place?
about a week before that,
So about a week before the hearing, you finally noticed the sign?
was there about 2, yeah.
Okay. So it's theoretically possible it was up there in front of 202A, and you just never saw it because you didn't go that way.
When I noticed the sign out in front of 202A, or I'm sorry, in front of my house, when I noticed that sign, I walked down the front of my house and read what that was.
Yeah.
And then about that same time, we got notice, when we got the mail that there was a hearing, and I went, okay, that's what that's for. But I didn't realize
Your testimony is you never saw a sign ever on 202A.
when I walked down to my house, from my house, and read the sign in front of my house,
Right.
there was no sign that I saw in front of their house. And it's not that far. It's about from where the signs would have been posted, probably 250 feet. As you can see from the photographs, they're not overgrown with weeds where you wouldn't be able to see down that way. I never saw a sign. That's all I can say, and that's the issue. So the issue, again, is whether or not it was properly posted, whether or not there was sufficient notice and proper notice as required by the ordinance. And if there wasn't, then It's improper. And the easiest way to do it is to say, okay, fine, you know what? Post it again, have the hearing again. That cures it, plain and simple. Then whatever other issues can be addressed at that hearing also. But the notice issue, that has to, that has to be addressed. Anything else? Yes, that's it.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We'll begin deliberation, and I'll ask for a motion and a second if one is offered. Then we can discuss it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we redo the P&Z thing based upon improper notification. I know in the past, I remember with the hotel deal, we redid some P&Z things because of improper posting.
So would it be correct to say you're looking to remand it back, to rehear it and repost it?
That would be my suggestion, yes.
Mr. Mayor, is it proper at this point if I ask a question of the attorney?
Go right ahead.
I'm looking at the ordinance, Mr. Audio, and it does say, by posting such notice in at least one prominent place on or about each parcel. What does about mean?
Well, you are fortunate enough to have a robe on tonight, and you get to decide for the purposes of your ordinance, as the finders of fact, all of the factual questions. And I can assist you with the legal questions. I don't think that there's a definition of on or about. I am not aware of a standard definition of on or about. The common meaning of it would be that it does not have to be on the property. It could be close to the property. And you might do that for any number of reasons, depending on the visibility and the location and the traffic and the location of the streets, for example. So the ordinance does not require it to be on the property. I believe about gives enough latitude. That would be my legal interpretation, but it falls to you to interpret and define your ordinance.
Thank you, sir.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
It has been and continues to be the practice of zoning, planning and zoning, to post multiple signs. There does not seem to be a definition, edict, law, or other description that says that we need to post more than 2 or 5 or 8 or 10 signs. In fact, it says a sign, a posted, on or about. On or about not being on the property directly, but about the property, or on the property. Am I mistaken with that? I believe that's the way the ordinance reads. Yes, the ordinance does say shall. Because it is the town's intent to meet the letter of the law, multiple signs are always posted. Not sometimes posted, not every once in a while posted, but always posted. One of the reasons multiple signs are always posted is because it is windy out here. Now, one of the town's reasonings for posting signs on sticks, if you will, is that fasten things to people's fences has in the past been somewhat offensive. Fastening things to fences is not always an expedient thing to do, nor is it welcomed in some cases. So we affix things to sticks or stands, which unfortunately are less than windproof. But once again, we post multiple signs, always, not sometimes, always. And it's my understanding that there was a sign posted even after the hearing on or about the property. My question is, and my question that I think we all should consider is, since we posted multiple signs, since neither the appellant or the person requesting our zoning change can recall when those signs disappeared, or when that sign disappeared, or when the second sign disappeared, I'm wondering if that sign was there, perhaps, up until the date that Mr. Campbell took his pictures. Perhaps it blew away on the night of the 22nd. I don't know, nor has anyone here given me that evidence. So I know that the town of Edgewood posts multiple signs. I know that the testimony given here today tells me that multiple signs were posted. Whether those signs were posted and stood for 15 days, I cannot answer, because no one here has given me that evidence. With that question, I'll leave it.
Mayor, may I add something that I just want to make clear? Mr. Campbell's issue about the due process requirements of notice are obviously true. That's why we do it. We want to give the public and those affected by zoning matters notice of those acts occurring. What is unclear to me is how significant a court would take this particular, the facts of this case. As you are looking at it, all of you are mulling this and considering it, and I cannot predict with certainty that a court would say this was sufficient. It was close. The one that remained was close enough. The testimony that another one was posted, but it blew down. I am not today familiar with New Mexico law on that issue or surrounding law to say posting and the sign remaining for a certain period, but it was damaged or stolen or blew down. And then does that result in sufficient notice, legally speaking? Those are the issues that a court would look at, and I can't with certainty say how a court's going to decide that, just as I couldn't say what your proper decision is. So just that's the context of this.
We did have testimony from the applicant that he did receive his written notice. And it was also in the newspapers twice. So we've got four actually, on the town's website. We haven't had any testimony about that, but it comes down to whether or not there was two signs out there and were they in the right places. The one that apparently everybody concedes was on the subject property is the one that blew away. The one that was put about the subject property, and I can see why they might have thought that, because by having it there on Mr. Campbell's property, people turning up that driveway could go by it, whereas if both of them were out on the front there, people turning there might never see them. But that's kind of tough. Anyway, we've got a motion from Councilor Abraham to remand back to P&Z. This time get the notice correct. We got a second. Seeing none, motion dies for lack of a second. Anybody else want to take a crack at the motion or another motion?
This one's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's got some intrigue.
I just know in the past, we've sent them back when the
Yep.
notice wasn't absolute
Understood.
definite, we were sure we could stand on it.
Understood.
For sake of discussion,
Yes, sir.
how in the heck do you fix a plastic sign to something where it's not going to go east?
Plastic ties on fence line.
I guess what this basically says is we're going to have to use a bigger stake.
I would point out, just for sake of argument.
Mr. Campbell, it's done.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Let's try this one more time. For the sake of expediency, and because I believe that the original zone change, as approved.
Well, it's conditional use permit.
It's a conditional use permit. Well, the original conditional use permit was approved in May, and now we're in August.
Right.
This looks to be a bit of an inconvenience for the landowner, not to mention possibly setting them in a situation of violation of zoning or use. I would make a motion to rehear this at Planning and Zoning pending proper posting, but holding harmless the landowner until said meeting can occur. And I would also stipulate that this rehearing will be at the earliest next convenience.
What did you mean by hold harmless?
In other words, because this is going back because of an appeal, the conditional use is thereby invalidated at the current time. So we would hold the landowner harmless if they have acted and are indeed doing this use currently until it can be reheard. Because this could affect someone's living arrangement.
Right, understood.
May I say, Mr. Mayor, pursuant to the ordinance, when I filed my appeal, the conditional use permit was stayed. So they weren't on it to act at any time already, so there wouldn't be any violation of the zoning ordinance because the conditional use permit's been on hold. And that's pursuant to this.
Fair enough.
Ordinance. So there isn't any liability.
Okay.
So your motion is to remand it back to P and Z at the earliest possible time, repost it, this time post it in such a way that there's pictures and photos of signs all over the place out there. But they're gonna have to renotice also the landowners by writing and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Counselor Simmons.
I have a question. You know, in reading this, there's plans for two people who live there currently to add a third person.
Right.
And they're wanting to do it under healthcare auspices.
Right.
However, I think there's a law as to how many unrelated people can live in a household under rental agreement. And I don't know if indeed they have a tenant.
No, we don't at the time. We're waiting until this goes through.
Okay, but I'm looking for a way to accommodate their ability to rent a room,
Yeah.
just rent a room,
right?
You can have up to 5 people, I understand, perhaps 6, under a simple rental agreement.
Mayor and councilors, if I could just jump in here, sorry to interrupt, but
Thank you.
Please tell me to shut up if that's inappropriate. The staff and I discussed this prior to this being filed. What you have here is, it could be a matter of first impression for you, I don't know. But it is akin to, across the country, folks living for medical care purposes in, or in this case, elderly care, in a residence in a neighborhood that is just like any of our neighborhoods. And what has occurred across the country, including the United States Supreme Court, they've essentially said communities cannot prevent that arrangement, even if the people are coming in and paying the people there to take care of them. That is something that cannot be prohibited by a town for that purpose. The staff used a conditional use process for this when we could not deny it on the basis of the use. We can't deny that. So it is something that in the future scheme of things, the town should look at to say whether this should even be considered a conditional use. Because we can't deny it on the normal bases of conditional use. And if one person or 2 people living in a house isn't regulated by the state, so there's kind of a gap there. And I just wanted the council to be aware that our back discussion before this even came forward, and my statement to the planning and zoning was, you can't deny this because of the use. So the conditional use is almost the wrong process for this. So I wanted you to be aware of all that.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Audio.
So if I'm understanding you, they could rent a room to somebody tomorrow, and they could have a side agreement as to the kind of services offered with that room.
And it doesn't fit, probably, I'm not going to say definitively you're correct, but the law doesn't have a mechanism under state law to regulate that in any way. Clearly, occupancy limits would be an issue. If you just had any building overrun and the fire department says that ain't going to work, then that's an issue. But other than that, you as a town, you don't have any current regulations, and it's very difficult to do anything to regulate them. So you may be absolutely correct. Certainly, you can't, another discussion was, is it a boarding house? Well, not really. It's not really a boarding house. A boarding house is another animal.
Right, and I applaud their attempt to meet any and all legal requirements of elder care or health care. I saw that they were certified, but I'm not sure what that certification is.
We're certified nursing assistants.
I'm sorry?
Certified nursing assistants.
Okay,
We've got 27 years combined experience in geriatrics.
In geriatrics.
Yeah.
Gee, meet Jerry here.
Well, anyway, I'm sure that if it goes back to P&Z, it'll get a good thrashing there. I think the idea with conditional use was a way of monitoring what was going on to make sure it stayed within some specific guidelines. The 2 people, and it could be looked at, this conditional use permit can be verified as it goes.
Well, and, you know, there's companies like Home Instead or A Place for Mom.
Yeah.
And it would seem to me that this could fall under that. I've been in homes in Albuquerque where they had 5 people that needed care, and those 5 people lived there. And there was an assistant that would come and go and take care of any medication needs and that sort of thing. But it was still in a residential area, and it was under that threshold of too many people. So, okay, now that we've...
Can I say something?
Actually, I'd prefer you did, so we can go ahead and call for the vote.
I mean, based on what Counselor Simmons said, what distinguishes this from any other home-based business needing a conditional use permit?
It is a home-based business because you are operating something more than just living quarters. And other than that, it's treated by the law just as if you were taking care of family members at no cost. So people do have to register as a business in your town, but it isn't, that's about the extent of how it is a home business.
Okay, so how do we prevent this from being an invasion of other home-based businesses needing a special conditional use permit?
Well, I think that it is something, again, this was a matter of first impression. I think the discussion should be had. We're already on this road. You need to decide that issue. But I think we need to have that discussion as a town, how to deal with these types of businesses.
So I'll restate the motion. The motion is to remand the matter back to planning and zoning at the earliest possible meeting, giving them time to properly notice this time and rehear the item and make another decision on it and see where it goes from there. Is that correct? We'll start on that end. Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Councilor Simmons?
Nay.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Nay.
Really?
Do you feel the heat?
Feel the swing?
I saw what superseded those prairie dogs. There were crows.
Well, let me think on this a minute.
What have we done in the past?
That's true.
One of them was you sitting in that position.
True. I guess I will go with aye.
Mr. Audio, I'm so glad you did that. I hate taking air to the dump. No, don't be. I hate taking hot air to the dump.
So the result of the roll call vote is it will go back to P and Z at the earliest possible date for a rehearing with all effort made to post it correctly and rehear the matter. Done with that. Okay. Next item on the agenda, announcements and/or calendar review. The next regular council meeting will be September 6th after Labor Day. And it will be at 6:30 p.m., the normal starting time.
Thank you.
Future agenda items.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Back to the calendar, I'm just curious, Labor Day is September 4th. Is the town office closed on that day?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It will be closed on the 4th. Future agenda items. We have a public hearing, discussion, consideration, action on adopting zone changes for the infill annexations that have already come forward. Consideration, action on amendments to the zone map afterwards. And the next item then is closed session. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
In this closed session, we will be discussing threatening pending litigation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
For discussion, I think we need a break.
Oh, you want to take a break before we get closed session?
I'm sorry, but, you know, some parts age faster than others.
We'll take a little break before we start the closed session.
We didn't vote. We did not vote.
What was your time?
What?
What was your time guess?
9. We still have to vote.
I tend to go with optimism.
I would keep it rolling right now.
And then Carla went 10:01 on the.
Well, I was feeling really, really good about my last subdivision. That shocked me. But then that picture up. And which didn't surprise me, but I just
fodder. That would be more efficient. This hearing would be less consequential.
I forgot we should be talking to them.
That's all right. I have a sneaky suspicion. Yeah, but then.
It's just, like I said, it's just improper notification that has been huge in the past.
It's been us before.
And better, I mean, to me, better to be safe than
Where is that? Will this council ever just make decisions and leave me out of it?
No. Speaking of decisions, Mr. Mayor, we do have to vote on
Yes,
going
I know.
into closed session, so.
Coming back to my seat so we can do that.
How are you? Unreasonable today. Generally unreasonable. Today I'm just not. It's a tough one. Well, and I'm having trouble with the national tone of our politics or lack thereof. Whatever's going on out there, I'm not. How did you go? I'm having serious heartburn. It's hitting me here.
We'll see you again at the end. Wait. The rule is the rule. And it's not rule. I just play with that.
Yeah, I know.
Norton.
Now we know what you do in your 70 hours,
Pinto
huh?
Road.
What's that now?
It's a piece of crap, Pinto Road.
Okay.
Good night.
This was from the last meeting?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We went out to the pyramid.
What did you do?
We regraded it.
Yeah, but they said you graded the crap out of it. Is there anything we can do to like fix it, maybe beyond just grading the crap out of it?
Well, I had Pete try to cut down.
Or maybe-
because it was the washboard and
Cut
stuff,
any
so-
ditches or anything?
No, we didn't cut the ditch. That was all just roll that water.
Okay. More sanitary.
We could put engineer fill on that road.
Gotta worry about the picker of
Got
nits.
past the engineer fill. The washboard go down through that big box. If I keep
Slice
it
and
deeper,
dice them out.
I'll end up with this big double-sided rock. And I can't do anything with it.
So what would be a good fix on it?
Pave it.
Good,
A piece of this,
We can't do that, so all I can do
is
I can put
this stuff.
base course on.
Soil preservation. I gotta figure out, I guess that's how to make things really work. The ones that I've planted so far, it's not doing real well.
The reason I put
We have
engineer
so
fill on.
much caliche there.
So that soil is real good. So I've been trying.
The base course, I think there's a dust use behind you when you drive down Hill Ranch Road at 50 miles an hour.
Come on, John, look at what it is, it's yellow.
Base course.
Sulfur.
That's the one,
What you end up is
I've been trying sulfur, I've been trying iron, I've been trying.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, we haven't had any gravel put on.
Soil fires, I've been trying all kinds of different things. I haven't got the mix right, so I've got to get with them.
Let's get back in session and wrap this up. There's a bet to do on here.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to restate my motion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we go into closed session pursuant to NMSA 1978H7. Only the following will be discussed in closed session, threatening pending litigation.
Got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into closed session pursuant to NMSA 1978H7. Topic to be discussed is pending or threatened litigation. Start on this end, Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Here's one in closed session.
No, we had one that went to 11:30, and I had to drive to San Fe for it.
You guys are a piece of the cake, that can hurt other folks.
Coming back into open hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to come back into open session.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go back into open session. We need to do the qualification also.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to state that in closed session, only pending litigation and threatened litigation was discussed. No decisions were made.
I affirm the same.
I so affirm also.
I so affirm.
I so affirm also.
Vote.
Vote on that end, starting Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Councilor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Next item is adjournment.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
10:12. 10:11. Who won the pot?
Carla.
I said 10:05.
That's not on the recording.
When did you change it to 10:05?
Yeah.
They change their numbers all the time.
They
You
do.
know, I've had it forever, and I